Okay. Unofficial patch. Skyrim patch. Down the rabbit hole. Frederick Knudsen. Hopefully the volume's fine. I'll just do this. 30%. Should be good. Nice. Unfortunately, you're probably gonna be seeing that more these days.
On July 26, 2011, a modder going by Kevin opened a post to the official Bethesda forums by writing, quote, I spent over 2 years working on the unofficial Oblivion patch, unofficial Shivering Isles patch, and unofficial official mods patch, to the detriment of much else.
Oblivion, Shivering Isles, an unofficial official mods patch. I don't even know what that is.
They were a contributing factor to the loss of my spouse, career, house, vehicle, and possibly some sanity. And I can't wait to get back on it.
Damn.
It's all good. She came.
That sounds like a World of Warcraft player. I lost all this stuff. I lost my spouse, my career, my house, my vehicle, and my sanity. Can't wait to do it all again. In classic WoW.
Back, and I'm much happier with just her without the rest of it, including the sanity.
Okay.
End quote.
So they got back together.
Spent years in the Bethesda games community building his reputation, and his return was heralded as a great boon by his peers.
I mean, when Skyrim came out, that was a huge, like, ooh. It was, I don't know, did it come out on all the platforms first, or was it I know PC was a thing, but I'm wondering.
The replies to this post were littered with enthusiastic players preemptively thanking Kevin and Quarn for their efforts, the latter being another community member of repute who had agreed to join this new project.
It's also very interesting that like Skyrim, Oblivion, like a lot of these games, including like Fallout series, those would probably have no foothold in the modding community. Well, obviously it wouldn't, if you just couldn't do it. If it was blocked off. Like, imagine they restricted modding or made it really annoying. I'm pretty sure Starfield has that issue.
Pair were known for the niche practice of creating game modifications, colloquially called mods, for other players to download and use to improve their game experience. Frequently, gamers with some relevant knowledge,
Russian?
Or simply motivated gamers willing to...
I swear to shit, if they... Hold up. Give me a sec. Am I able to do this? Good. I swear, if they put something they shouldn't be putting on here. I'm sure they won't. It's YouTube.
Or add to a beloved game's code and content, and this definition encompasses a wide breadth of possibilities. Some mods add new features to a game, while others tweak existing features like user interfaces and character upgrades. Kevin and Quarn, however, were known for creating the least exciting category: bug fixes. Coding errors in games are not only common.
You say that, but I'm almost certain half the shit wouldn't be working if this wasn't
common, but nearly universal due to the complexity of such a task, and bug-fixing mods for popular games are typically community efforts to help solve these problems that, usually for reasons of time or budget, go unsolved by the developers. Bug-fixing mods also tend to be unintrusive, meaning that gamers looking to add new features to a game that they enjoy will often go out of their way to add bug-fixing mods as well, as a matter of course. These mods were particularly welcome for Bethesda's games. Bethesda Game Studios had built a strong reputation for creating immersive and accessible role-playing games, featuring large open worlds with a wide variety of content, but they were marred by a perennial problem. The massiveness of their designs left ample room for coding errors to be overlooked. While sometimes...
You can say this all you want, but aren't a lot of the errors still like there? So Oblivion's issues, it got modded out. I'm assuming it got the mod updates and all that crap out of the wazoo. But weren't some of them apparent because the coding has some similarity to each game?
Times amusing, these bugs were more frequently problematic, often breaking the immersion for players and frustrating their attempts at progress. Many of these issues could be traced back to the game engine that they used and the specific modifications they had made to it. While modular, these game engines contained persistent bugs that could be found across multiple of their titles, along with a bevy of new bugs each time, creating a familiar phenomenon known both pejoratively and affectionately as Bethesda jank. Kevin and Quarn had participated in and led bug-fixing mods.
If I had to guess, they didn't mirror this. That's a bug? Yeah, that's just got to be like a mirror issue. Because I imagine, yeah, that's weird.
Efforts in the past for prior titles in the Elder Scrolls series.
Fixed blood decal. It basically overwrit the carpet.
The name unofficial patch for each, and their knowledge and experience would prove useful in the creation of the unofficial Skyrim patch. Kevin promised, upon the release of Skyrim in 7 months, that 2 years of his modding efforts would be dedicated exclusively to working on the unofficial Skyrim patch. Despite the looming immensity of the project, he was optimistic, closing his post by stating, quote, "Curse my naive optimism, but I really do think that Skyrim will give us much less work to do than Oblivion did. Bethesda Softworks has a far larger team working on it, more eyes catch more mistakes, and has the benefit of experience from Oblivion. So let's hope for the best."
Wrong. You don't understand how many loopholes, how much stuff they'll skip over.
End quote.
I wonder if Starfield's... Because Starfield had jank. It had jank when I played a little bit of it. I didn't play all of it. Because I'm going to be honest, space doesn't not interest me that much. Like, if it's Warhammer, hell yeah. There are limitations, but like, when you get too far into the future of like space travel and stuff, you end up with technology and stuff that makes other activities redundant. You don't have to walk to that location. You can fly. Now that's fast travel, obviously, but like on the threshold of if I fast travel in Skyrim, if I do it by carriage, I imagine that takes days. Like, not days. I mean, the game does feel small. But nonetheless, like, I'm saying like a lot. You fly from A to B, land, do objective. Fly from B to C, do objective. Fly all the way back to Z from C, because you're low on resources and you need to hand in your quest. Mind you, they have phones. They have like communication stuff. Will they not be able to just send it over? 3D print stuff?
His assessment would prove preposterously wrong.
Wrong!
On November 11th, 2011, Bethesda Game Studios released their highly anticipated game, The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim.
My first time playing this was, it was in a LAN party in college. I didn't have a good computer, and I had a 360, but it was like the arcade edition. That thing was ass, and it blue screened a lot. I resolved it, blue screen, Red Ring of Death. R-R-D. So I didn't have this game for a bit, but I did end up playing this originally on console. I also bought like all the DLC for it too. It was awesome. It did suck though, after a time, because I'd have the one playthrough, because I didn't really replay the game. I played it to such a degree. I don't know how I missed so much content, or I just didn't see it in the first place. But the when the next DLC came out, I was like, God. I was in God mode. I was like max level. And I think Legendary Edition added the prestige of your skills. But even then, if by doing that, you're just crippling yourself.
Skyrim was lauded critically and performed extremely well financially, more so than any other of Bethesda's games before it.
Yes.
Oblivion, the previous game in the series, had sold 1.7 million copies in its first month, whereas Skyrim sold twice that number in only its first 2 days. But the breadth of bugs present in the game was immediately first month, whereas Skyrim sold twice that number in only its first 2 days. But the breadth of bugs present in the game was immediately apparent, and these bugs were so ubiquitous that some became practically synonymous with the game, such as the ability for players to climb tall mountains by rapidly jumping against a cliff face, or...
That's fine. You know what? You know the best way of fixing this issue? As long as you're in an outside cell, not an interior cell. Whenever you climb up something like this, just let the player do it, but have like climbing claws or some like the climbing axes, and then just do it like your body animation, and it looks at least normal. Because so many games have vaulting now. You can just make it that when you get to a point where there's a 90 degree or lesser or greater, just climb up it.
Tendency for the giant variety of enemy to send other actors rocket.
We witnessed this firsthand. I think Lydia got nuked by one of these.
Into the sky.
Oh yeah, that's the shit. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if I crashed a game.
These bugs were amusing. They would often cause difficulties and frustrate or
that's the level of
entirely
detail.
Block progress.
What the
and attention once again turned to the unofficial Skyrim patch,
Save
which
us!
many desperate PC players hoped would help ease the struggle with the game, many foregoing playing at all until it was ready. Those who inquired.
Wait, but that means. Well, no, I imagine the console, I think almost always, the console version of the game is going to be more stable than the PC one, because there's less parts that can intervene or tweak. Graphics cards will be the biggest pointer.
However, were met with an unfortunate response. They would have to wait until the team had access to the modding tools from Bethesda, which would take another 3 months.
Wait, they didn't have it out official. Oh, the creation kit. They did the same with Starfield.
However, while the means to properly fix these bugs was not yet available, the community effort to diagnose and document them was now well underway.
That's nice.
Members of the forums gathered to collect bugs that they encountered while playing, and
that guy went got hit by a stalactite right to the ceiling.
Submit them to the unofficial patch team, who would speculate as to their cause.
I didn't
By the
fix
time
that
the
bug.
modding tools were made available, a long list was already prepared for the team to address. The announcement post for the unofficial patch attracted even more attention and built excitement, and the team of bug-fixing modders grew. The next 2 months were spent attempting to fix as many bugs as possible, and finally, on April 6th, 2012,
2 months
nearly
later.
5 months after the release of the game,
months.
the unofficial Skyrim patch, or USP.
No wonder I never came across this. I don't think Nexus Mods was... When did Nexus Mods come out? – 2001. Whoa! 2001. It came out that, early? I've got, no images showing what it looked like, though. Interesting.
KP, as it had come to be known, was released. The list of remedied bugs was dizzyingly large and varied widely in scope, and even in this early implementation, modders were quick to add the USKP to their collection. Its immediate popularity only increased the number of people reporting bugs, further assisting the team in their goal.
That's good,
Its
though.
reach was assisted in no small part by the establishment and growing popularity of mod hubs, namely Nexus Mods and the newly released Steam Workshop, which offered centralized platforms for players to find and download mods on browsable and searchable databases, vastly increasing their accessibility. The process of installing a mod now was often as simple as pressing a single button. This, combined with the unintrusive and unambiguously positive impact of the mod, dramatically boosted the unofficial patch's usage, both within niche modding communities and a larger, yet less engaged modding public. But shortly after the release of the Skyrim unofficial patch, Kevin, its organizer and distributor, disappeared. Other members of the team referenced a vague personal issue when questioned, but remained mum on any specifics, leaving other forum users to speculate. None of the team had access to the necessary files to continue the project without Kevin, and soon, as Skyrim received regular updates from the developers, the unofficial Skyrim patch no longer worked with the new updated code, meaning that this patch meant to fix bugs was now breaking the game. Some began to propose making a branch of the patch themselves to make it compatible. Finally, after several months of silence, one of the team members, Arthmore, made an announcement to the unofficial patch thread on the Bethesda forums that Kevin would be taking a leave of absence indefinitely, likely never to return, and that he now had control of the project, as well as the other unofficial patches that Kevin had produced for previous games. With Arthmore as the new steward of the project and manager of the team, updates could begin again. As months passed, more and more bugs were discovered, addressed, and eventually fixed.
I think I still got the blacksmith bug where they grabbed the metal, the hot metal from the wrong side.
By this network of modders, and over time, many other mods dedicated to fixing specific bugs could also be fixed by the USKP. And so, instead of downloading many different bug-fixing patches, most people opted simply to download the single USKP. To encourage players to forego other projects and rely solely on the unofficial patch, the team posted a list of bug-fixing mods made obsolete by their patch. The active team behind the USKP also meant that it was always kept up to date with the latest version of the game, meaning less concern over depreciation. Soon, the unofficial Skyrim patch had become nearly ubiquitous among modders.
I just hope no one got salty because their patch got, like, absorbed, well, not even absorbed, but became obsolete as a result of this. But I don't know how you're supposed to compete with the unofficial. You know what? Unofficial Starfield. Does that exist? It does. Last updated in June 2025. That's still happening. Arthmore! The OG! He's still here. I don't know if he's like the staple or not.
And when someone new to the practice would ask which mods to download, the USKP would often be first among them. Its growing popularity had another effect. Because so many people were using it, many other mod authors began creating their mods with the assumption that their users would have the USKP as well. And so, many modders added it as a dependency, meaning that their new mod would not function unless the USKP was installed as well.
A lot of popularity.
In this way, players who otherwise would not have downloaded the unofficial Skyrim patch or had no interest in it did so anyway, so that another mod that they wanted would function. But while Arthmore was getting affairs in order so that the team could continue work, another of his mods was beginning to receive scrutiny. On February 7th, 2000.
Oh shit. He made Open Cities. That mod is so not stable. It's because there's so much happening. There's always a load screen. There's always stuff like causing it to happen. It's weird.
In 2012, Arthmore had released his Open Cities Skyrim mod, which removed the loading zones used to enter cities and instead made the cities a part of the
Now, the thing is, Skyrim you can play this with Skyrim. It's probably a bit more intense on the system, but you could do that. I love this. The less load screens, the better. But obviously some maps make no sense logically. Like, there's probably some housing. There's probably some caves. There's probably literally just, like, a shack. The size doesn't add up to, the space.
Contiguous overworld map. While a
If it
minority
did,
of
it would
players
make the map
complained
bigger.
of frame rate and crashing issues, the majority seemed pleased with its effects. However, after an update to the mod in June, people who downloaded and used it noticed a peculiar addition. In the largest cities, demolished Oblivion gates had been added, a structure
This isn't canon! This is not canon! I don't want this! Just disable it. You're on a PC, console command, disable. Solved.
that featured heavily in the previous game in the Elder Scrolls series. According to a write-up in the Something Awful forums from user Strong Female, quote, "These gates stand out because they're large and are placed in the middle of each city. They also look like shit and have terrible textures. They don't even make sense from a lore perspective."
Yeah, I guess they don't. Like, it's like a monument. The monument to a bad thing. Why would you not have that shit destroyed? Now, and from what I gathered, the Oblivion Crisis was exclusively in Cyrodiil. In Oblivion's, like, area. Due to the, due to who they were after. They needed the Emperor, Target. They needed to get his gem to do all that mumbo jumbo. To summon, Dagoth. No, that's fucking Morrowind, dumbass. Mehrunes Dagon.
End quote. At
Yeah.
first, players were confused by their appearance. The post advertising the Open Cities mod on the forums made no mention of the gates, and given that many people downloaded and installed other mods as well, it wasn't clear which among them could have been.
That's a classic. That being said, now, these days you can get a console command helper. So when you click on a entity, it tells the information like what the origin, if it's based on like the base files or not.
When Arthmore's Open Cities mod was identified as the culprit, players began to express their frustration. In response to this quiet, unwanted addition, a member of the Something Awful forums going by Upmarket Mango decided to download the mod, remove the gates, and then re-upload it to the Steam
You
Workshop.
can't do that.
When Arthmore discovered this re-upload, he was furious and took swift action, demanding that, under the license agreements for the creation engine and the mod itself, this altered version of Open Cities was to be taken down in accordance with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA,
Wow. He DMCA?
arguing that his content was being stolen and shared without his permission. When Bethesda staff obliged and removed this modified re-upload, another modder named Andreas took it upon himself to try again, except by a different, more clever method. Rather than re-uploading the entire mod
Just have a
sans
patch
the
that
gates,
disables them.
he instead offered a mod for Arthmore's mod, which he named Gatecrasher. This small file, when installed alongside Arthmore's Open Cities mod, would remove the Oblivion gates and leave the rest of the mod intact.
Okay,
In this case,
that's
he was
fine.
not re-uploading any of Arthmore's content.
Wait a minute. I'm almost certain I played Open Cities in a like at least a few years ago, just to test it, even though it was the most unstable piece of crap. Just because of every other mod requiring like, hey, I need to enter this entity. Also, I think the Whiterun, when Ulfric raids Whiterun, that needs to be a load screen because it's like very specific, and there's like one little area you interact with and that teleports you.
Only a small file that altered Open Cities in much the same way that modders changed the base game of Skyrim.
That seems fair.
This angered Arthmore even further, and he again went to the community manager for Bethesda, demanding that Andreas's Gatecrasher mod be purged from their databases. Again, they obliged. Andreas,
Damn.
however, was not as acquiescent as upmarket Mango. Andreas would later claim that the senior community manager at Bethesda gave him permission to re-upload Gatecrasher to their...
Who's the liar in this situation? This elephant in the room, the gate patch debacle, we'll call it. I was not part of this situation. I've taken both sides impartially. This is my take on what appears to have happened. The original author made a change to a popular mod that was not well received. Wake of that release, the author was being threatened, bullied, his reputation attacked, people were demanding he strike that update, etc. The author was already on the defensive. In the midst of this fray, Patchmaker announced that he or she is just going to fix it, and the author can spin on it. Spin on that thing. Yeah, in this situation, the Patchmaker was not in a dialogue with the author, or the Patchmaker would have known the author had authorized another author to make that such patch. The treatment of the original author for making a change to a mod that he designed, which he has a right to do and doesn't have to change it because people don't take well to the change. Okay.
Their hosting service, stating that it didn't violate their guidelines since he wasn't re-uploading Arthmore's work, only uploading a file that would modify it, something that many other mods already did
mods do.
In order to ensure compatibility with
compatibility patches, man. I've got tons of those.
One another. With the decision made, Arthmore made his displeasure known. Writing in response to a post on the official Bethesda forums, he began railing against the practice of modifying other mods, stating, "I would consider any mod created for the sole purpose of sabotage and/or destroying content in another mod as malicious software. I fail to see how it could be seen otherwise." He also attacked the character of said creators by stating that, "You can't separate the mentality of those who want to freely rip each other off from the type of person who would exploit such a loophole such as this in order to skirt existing rules on the subject. They're one and the same in my experience."
I think he might be getting a god complex. He doesn't want his mod to be tweaked. Even though a lot of people like it, they're not a fan of the Oblivion. I'm almost certain I still see them, so...
In another post in the same...
Also, literally just go in console command to disable them. They're making a big deal out of nothing.
He appealed to the community's moral framework, writing, "Have we as a community so lost touch with our core principles that we're given actual serious thought to enabling the deliberate, targeted sabotage of another's work?"
What?
However, none of his philosophizing changed the reality that some users of the Open Cities mod simply disliked Arthmore's extraneous addition of the Oblivion Gates, and removing these dead gates.
Provided there's no NPCs that interact with it, disable it.
From the mod was no different to them than making changes to the base game of Skyrim. With Gatecrasher approved, and with no recourse, Arthmore felt forced to capitulate. Making an edit to the main thread for the Open Cities mod, he included a new section at the bottom.
Ooh, that's what I gotta do, 1 sec. Gotta copy this link. Give me 1 second. I need to, oh no, the dogs have arrived. The dogs are getting angry. There we go. Here's for those interested. There we go. Pop that there. Cool. Carry on.
Why are there dead Oblivion Gates in the cities now? In it, he spent multiple paragraphs defending his decision to include them, citing lore and discussing authorial intent on the part of Bethesda, as well as invoking real-life memorials to battles in the American Civil War and World War II, including Pearl Harbor and Iwo Jima. He closed his argument by fighting back against those who believed that the inclusion of the gates was beyond the scope of the mod, writing, quote, "Arguments of it being feature creep don't fly either. These gates add a touch of uniqueness to the mod, and pay what I believe is an homage to the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion as one of the best games of its time. They are not active portals, and nor are they eyesores. They're not even in your way."
You run into
Still
Crossum
not
a lot.
happy? Thomas Kyra has created a patch to remove the gates. His is the only authorized patch. Any others have been produced without permission and are likely to have game-killing bugs in them. End quote. Over time, this event would be given a name. Gategate, a reference to the infamous Watergate scandal. According to team member Sigurd Stormhand, who recalled the incident many years later, quote, "The reason Arthmore dug his heels in was, as much as anything, because some users said some extremely offensive things about the gate meshes themselves, which were made for the project by a friend."
Depending
While
on friends.
uncorroborated, a user on the RPG Codex forums would state that, as a result of this disagreement, quote, "Arthmore's personal website got hammered for days with goatsy, gore, and other horrible things."
What the fuck?
End quote.
That's fucked. That's messed up. Get, no, dwarf. Aye. Dwarf. Two dwarfs stacked on top of each other.
Despite the relatively small size of this controversy, it set a precedent that Arthmore felt justified making additions to the game to better suit his vision by surreptitiously bundling features with mods that had other overtly stated purposes. And those who disagreed with this vision were not only wrong for attempting to change it, but a threat to the very foundation of modding itself. The desires of the user were secondary to the creative integrity of the mod author's intention, and this, naturally, included Arthmore himself.
Two dwarfs stacked on top of each other sounds dangerous. That depends. Maybe they're skilled in acrobatics.
Now, Arthmore was in charge of the unofficial Skyrim patch, the largest bug.
Oh, I see. I think I'm seeing the issue here. They made a change. He added open cities and then planted in the Oblivion gates. People didn't like that. Now I guess they're wondering, is he gonna make an unofficial Skyrim patch which adds something that was not originally in the game? Is my guess. Which could be the case. Oh yeah, give me one sec. What do I need? I need Is there a sprite sheet? I need a reference sprite sheet for slime. Oh, that's weird. Why is there like no movements animations for the slime? Huh. I could probably reference it. Yeah, I'll reference it. Where is it? Save image. There we go. Put that in downloads. Slime tools. How would you even stop a 4-armed dwarf that is twice as tall as a normal dwarf? Use grease. Spell grease. That'll get them. They wouldn't be able to hold on to each other. They'll just slip off.
Bug-fixing project for Skyrim, and with more and more mods adding it as a dependency, it was becoming harder and harder for modders to omit it, though few had much reason to do so, given its utility. The team behind the USKP had just been handed immense power within the community, with modders grateful for the massive undertaking and service that the unofficial patch team was providing, and public sentiment strongly in their favor. The momentum of the patch was nigh impossible to stop, and more, the modding community was reliant upon the choices and goodwill of the unofficial patch team.
Oh, there must have been a... He can't do the kettle. No! My kettle move! It's not working!
The friction between players and the team would begin early into the unofficial Skyrim patch's lifetime. On September 3rd, 2012, 5 months after the launch of the patch, a forum user wrote in response to the patch's thread expressing their distaste for a specific change that the USKP made to the initial 3 Guardian Stones. These Guardian Stones, found near the beginning of the game, act as guides for new players. Only one Stone's boon may be chosen at a time, and adopting one increases the speed at which the character gains experience for a family of skills.
I'm gonna be honest. These just more XP for a skill is stupid. In my opinion. It's kind of dumb. You know what would have actually been a cool one? It'd be a bit finicky, but if there was a skill tree, like a blank skill tree on in your like choices, and that one is dedicated to a standing stone. So when you pick a standing stone, you can level that standing stone up. So that's a skill more than a branch of skill. Now you have 2 greased up dwarves. It's arguably more dangerous. Yeah. So yeah, if you had a blank skill tree that you could level up as you level, maybe you have to commit points into it, obviously. But you could get a lot more oomph to it. And then, let's say you complete the standing stone. The end goal of the standing stone is, while you don't have this standing stone selected, you still get a passive, like the top passive. So, that's... like, I want to do warrior-related stuff. So you go down the warrior tree. Just make it do, like, it costs less stamina to do X things. Like, nothing drastic. But if you stick to that standing stone, you keep all that benefits. Well, let's say I want to go into the, what's the other one? The one for raising dead. You can pivot off this standing stone. Warrior, I throw you out. I've max leveled you. I now want to do necromancy. So now you go down this one, which is maybe specifically for raising the dead, making modifiers. And then with the fighter's standing stone, you can pick, maybe there's like 3 branching paths in that one, or it's very linear. I don't know. I'm just idea blasting stuff down. You can just pick like one of the major nodes for the warrior thing, keep it, bank it. You keep that cool little effect. You dedicated points into it, and then you can go into the necromancer, or you just make it that whenever you switch standing stones, it resets those points. It refunds you the points, and you can pivot them back into the standing stone, or maybe you can put them into another like skill tree. That way you're not literally just losing a bunch of points for each level up. That probably would work better. Or okay, I see a flaw in the point system, because then that way, once you've had the points, you're just going to put them all back into the next standing stone. Make it the standing stone passively level. That would be a better one. You don't mess with it. It comes with, you don't modify it. Every level you get while you have the standing stone, you get a perk. And then when you switch out of it, it's probably a negative. Maybe you keep one of the boons, and then you level up that one passively. Think of it like actually leveling a skill, but it's just whenever you level up. So it's slower than every other skill, but you're essentially getting a free boon. Usually you go warrior because it levels all the orange skills, and those are the only ones I care about. I just don't like the XP ones. XP is dumb. I think there's another one that gives flat XP. Was it the Lover's Stone? These ones are like, meh. because you're gonna power level. You level up so fast in this game, and if you took one of these and got so much extra XP, enemies are gonna scale quicker to you. And in addition to that, you don't have to pay for the services of training. So XP is like the lazy man's standing stone. Because if I'm going to use a lot of my like sword moves and attacks, they're gonna level. And I think some of them scale with like the damage you input, the output. It is so little it's not even worthwhile. Yeah, it's like 5%, right? But that's systematically better. No, it's not. Because the mage's skill covers all the spell. The thieves covers all the like lockpicking, sneaking, pickpocketing, daggers and stuff. And the fighters is all like combat stuff. So there's probably more XP across that than 5 across everything else. Brought up something super important. Oh, what's that? I like the mods that modify the standing stones to do other stuff. Because once a day you just res a dude is like boring. Maybe that's the end goal. Once you max level a standing stone, you just get its ability. If you only level one skill or one group of skills, the enemies will be harder. Yeah. Unless you have a mod that makes everything flat. I think Fallout New Vegas did that. There were some regions that just had death claws early. Because that allowed the devs to like control where the player would go. You usually just ignore the standing stone. Yeah, I don't really care. You get so many other abilities. You get shouts. You get powers from mods or just powers in general from your race. And then you've got these standing stones that sometimes do a thing a day and then you can't use it until you sleep 24 hours. The best one, I'd say the one I used in, I think Morrowind or Oblivion, the tower. Because that was a free unlock of a highest level thing that I don't have skill for. Nah, that worked. That was pretty good.
Encouraging them into one of 3 modes of play. The warriors.
I guess this is also another negative. If you pick one of these, why aren't you leveling those skills? You're missing out on ESP. You're not min-maxing.
Stone boosted the growth of melee combat skills, while the Mage Stone and Thief Stone did the same for magic and stealth-related skills respectively. This helped give new players unfamiliar with role-playing games a set of clear playstyles that they could follow. Arthmore and
It's like picking a class then, huh?
His team, however, had made a minor change to these stones. Observing the way that skills were grouped in other places in the game, and citing the official strategy guide, they had decided to move the archery skill from the Thief Stone to the Warrior Stone.
I know warriors can use a bow and stuff, but why? Has anyone not seen a stealth archer? I'm pretty sure everyone pivots to stealth archer at some point in their lifespan.
According to unofficial patch team members, this change was the subject of heavy internal debate. While a relatively small change overall, it inspired significant frustration from a small group of people who felt that this was overreach on the part of the USKP team. One of the few people to speak up about it wrote that, while they were happy with the patch as a whole, quote, "I'm only looking for bug fixes, not told how I am supposed to play the game."
Ooh, burnt. Got him.
Hold out. Arthmore replied, "And that's what you got. A bug fix."
I don't know about that, buddy. Like, the warrior skills needed help, sure, but now you just took 90% of the damage for hunters and stealth range. Yeah. Because, at least for me, my workaround for not spam using bows is to initiate with the bow, then pivot to melee or magic. Because you don't get sneak attack with a weapon unless I'm point blank, and I'm not trying to be an assassin. I'm trying to be a bit like in a mindset of a tactical surviving in this world. you'd probably want the upper hand. I'm not sneaky enough to get close. So what do I do next? I get a bow and I shoot them from afar, and then I get into their face. In one hand, I can probably take out a wizard, but then I got to deal with the guy holding the heavy armor. That's another reason why I like crossbows, because they take so long to reload. You don't want to be spam using that, because you're just gonna get punched in the face. I will say though, if you use a crossbow, it's actually very efficient to switch to magic, because you don't have to like whip out your weapon. You just holster your crossbow and pull out your hands, which is so fast. I love crossbows too. I think I just got a Nordic crossbow from the lady in Dawnguard. Give them a good shot, then get in there with the Dwarven Warhammer. Yes. Crush their skull.
This highlighted an inherent problem with bug-fixing projects such as the USKP.
Yeah.
There is no public consensus on what precisely a bug is or how to identify one, and what one person might consider an undesirable bug could be an
Paper equal bucket? Addicted to the Dwemer? It's because they're just so unknown, aren't they? Most theories are, I don't know, unless Elder Scrolls Online goes into it, but I don't know what's canon and what's not. I imagine the games themselves are. Elder Scrolls Online, doesn't that take place 1,000 years before? Wait a minute. Or 100 years before. A Dwemer in Elder Scrolls Online? I like the constructs and the way they operated. Yeah. And then you implement the fact they had like soul gem technology 1,000 years. Can Dwemer exist in that? I imagine they could. And so could probably snow elves. At least on the, Elder Scrolls Online. I mean, there is literally one snow elf that is still alive in Skyrim, but we haven't got to that yet. The Dwemer have been gone for like 2,000 years, but you do interact with Dwemer stuff. Okay. I wonder how like MMO they made it though. I imagine dungeons and raids would be
enjoyable feature for another player. Some bugs are easy to identify, such as those that hard crash a game or completely lock progress, but others are not so clearly defined. In order to resolve this tension, Arthmore wrote a frequently asked questions section for the AFK mods website, which became the primary hub for discussion of the unofficial patch, and he opened this post with a definition. Quote, "A bug is defined for our purposes as a defect in the game that can be factually proven to be broken. This can be
There's going to be a lot of loopholes in this answer, isn't there?
anything from a quest that won't advance a stage when it should, to a typo in a book, and pretty much everything in between. Some judgment is used for issues that are more cosmetic than functional, such as the lack of heat blurs on smelters."
I'm going to be honest. The like radiant light and blur crap that were on smelters back like originally, those look ugly as hell. Because it's just like a white blur. Like a white light blur overlapping the freaking smelter. It's disgusting.
And forces.
Like
the game will obviously function just fine without those, but they constitute unrealistic visual presentation. End quote. But this definition still left many ambiguities, and for many bugs, one vitally important aspect is the intention of the developers. A fix for a hard crash is almost universally positive, as most developers don't wish for their programs to do so, but what denotes a bug is not always so clear, and this
all we know is that they do not like the gods and believe the gods were high on their own fumes. Chad at Dwemer moment. They also had airships and were working on a space program when they vanished. They're like on the planet of cogs. I think that was a theory. I think I saw a theory of that at one point. It was a question of did they teleport to their own planet, or did they create their own planet and it's comprised of just like it's a Dwemer machine that thousands of years ago, which is pretty impressive. But that's like you said before, the Dwemer were reclusive. They weren't very open to people because knowledge could make you go insane. The ring.
This problem was exemplified by the Guardian Stones. While the Thief Stone purported to provide...
We have people who are angry that the Red Guard Maiden used cannons and firearms against the elves. Yeah, good. Magic users. What do you mean? That's stupid. Wait, Red Guards made firearms? Wait, there's guns? That must be like more like not hidden technologies, but like super on the legal front. It's criminal activity if you own a gun and you do not have a license, like a thing. America. That's sick. I wonder if they're gonna because all the Elder Scrolls games have been like progressed into the future of the games. So I think Morrowind to Oblivion was what, 10 years? Is Skyrim like 100? That's like the easiest way to get around the fact that you don't want the games to be too close together in time frame, because then you got to deal with, like, you can't accelerate and add new content in a way. And again, you're in a freaking fantasy world.
Provide bonuses to the stealth category of skill. It is the only place in the game where archery is included in that category, with 3 other quests that defined archery as a combat skill, and so, one natural conclusion is that its categorization as a stealth skill was an error. And
okay, let's do a quick little look. Warrior Stone, Skyrim. Okay, Warrior Stone, we want the Mage Stone, and we want the Thief Stone. I want to see how many skills are covered. Okay, Warrior gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Smithing's in Warrior? I didn't know that. It doesn't cover any of the armor. I didn't know that. Okay, Mage Stone. Mage Stone covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Warrior has 1 less, and the Thief Stone is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the Thief Stone actually has the most. Huh. You know what? I can see that. Because you know what I'm thinking now? You are leveling 2 skills in one go. If you're playing a warrior, you're hitting them with a weapon. 1 hand or 2 hand. You're not like dual wielding 2 giant weapons. You're hitting them with 1-handers or 2-handers. Archery gets the sneak attack bonus, the sneaking, and the archery in one go. Granted, you get armor, but I don't know, that's weird. The Red Guards are from Hammerfell. It's completely independent because they left the Empire and chased out the Aldmeri Dominion. Elves had to give the Red Guard independence or they could overthrow the... Wow. Man, Skyrim. The Nords need to team up with Hammerfell. If they really want to push back, that's how you do it. Okay. On a pure systematic level, I can see the archery being put in Warrior simply because the Warrior gets way fewer skills. They don't even get armor. Persia would have put the light armor in Warrior, but the Norse do not like the Red Guards. Oh, okay, never mind then. Yeah, there's no armor skills. And this isn't including every skill. So light armor, heavy armor seems to not be in this pool. Alchemy's in here. That might be the only ones that aren't included in the whole shtick. 2 armor sets. Warrior has heavy armor. Oh shit, you're right. My bad. I'm blind. That's weird though. You'd think it wouldn't matter what armor you're wearing. Obviously, if you're wearing cloth, that doesn't count. But I feel like light armor. Okay, here's my thought process. Quick and easy. Move archery to warrior. All combat skills with weapons go there. And then you give the thief stone light armor. Because I think heavy armor actually influences how noisy you are, which is a negative for a stealth build. Obviously, if you get muffled, it completely obliterates. Honestly, that spell's bullshit. But that way, warrior gets another skill, the thief gets light. Feel that the class that has the smithing should get all the classes that get better with your weapon. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can use a sharpening stone on a bow. Does it make sense? Not really. Archery is not affected by smithing while light armor is. No, I think the grindstone is technically a smithing skill. If you sharpen a weapon, you actually get skill in smithing. Very less low. I think forging weapons is actually the best XP. Whereas, buffing your armor up every now and then is actually pretty shite. But that's like low. But yeah, I can see that. I guess the downside is like you have all this armor and warrior. The thief, a thief will most likely wear light armor. They could also just be naked, and invisible. But all that I remember is that making parts for building your house does not level smithing nor use smelter. It doesn't? I know you could buy the stuff.
An argument that was used to dismiss the frustrated critics. However, this addition could also have been an attempt by the developers to complement a stealth archer style of play, popular in games such as Skyrim, where the player attempts to quietly pick off individual enemies from a group without being spotted, using ranged attacks to stay hidden. Notably, as of the writing of this video, the vanilla game still includes the boost to the archery skill with the Thief Stone boon nearly 14 years after Skyrim's release.
I guess it makes sense that archery would be in stealth, but you're power leveling 2 skills. I guess if you kill stuff a lot faster, then that makes sense. Then again, I think my bow skill's actually ass.
Though Bethesda has allowed many bugs to remain in Skyrim during this time.
On the topic of that, he just did some lockpicking. I can't for the life of me remember what lockpicking mod I had, but the one that makes it so you have to open it like Oblivion. Nah, Jeff's kiss. That is actually way more entertaining. Well, at least gets my brain working a little bit more. It also makes it take longer.
And so its continued presence is far from conclusive evidence.
Yeah, it seems like it didn't get tweaked out. My reason for leaving archery is you do insane damage with a base bow and do not have to upgrade your bow. Light armor, after a point, your hide armor acts like paper. Yeah, unfortunately that is the case. It is heavy though. So you need a lot of stamina and carry weight.
Evidence of intent. While Arthmore had cited the official strategy guide as evidence, they are notoriously unreliable and often contain incorrect information.
Don't trust a strategy guide, my dude. There's so many cases where there could just be a simple error, and then you're screwed.
Due to simple error, or because the copy for the book was finalized before the game's code.
True, that is also a case that probably happens a lot, because they got to release it at least in time with the game itself. Ooh, you add a 4th group. Craftsman, Warrior, Rogue. Ah. What would that be comprised of, though? Just smithing? What would Craftsman be? You know what you can't do in this game? You can't make cloth armor without mods. You can't get weaving. You get cotton in this game, and you can't make a wool out of it. You get all this leather, you can't make a nice little leather chest piece. Well, you can, obviously. It's called light armor.
Making them poor evidence.
Smithing, enchanting, speech. Yeah, it's a commerce. The commerce stone. That could work. it covers a lot of the stuff as well. It covers something that if you were a warrior, yeah.
Of intent.
Wait a minute. Is speech? Oh, speech is in Thief.
Something that Arthmore would even later admit.
You know what I reckon they should do? I've got the ultimate option. Get rid of those stones. You don't need bonus XP. Get out of here.
However, the developer's intention, the USKP team was now placing themselves as its final arbiters, and a vocal contingent of players disagreed not only with their interpretations, but that fundamentally, changes to gameplay such as this were outside the scope of a bug-fixing patch. But by the end of the year, the USKP team would be making more aggressive changes to the game. The first was at a particular location called Red Belly Mine, which was ostensibly an iron mine overrun by large spiders which the player could clear for the local villagers.
I think I ran past this place. I don't think I ended up doing this. I ran past it. I just rode past because I had shit to do.
However, despite the villagers referring to it as an iron mine, the mine was filled with ebony ore instead.
Okay, I can see that as a bug. You know what they could have done? Iron at the start, and then some ebony at the end. You like to roleplay as a smith a lot, which levels up speech, alchemy, enchanting, smithing, and attractiveness. True. Always end up going in there, accident trying to mine. It's always... I don't need to mine as much in this, because, ore's heavy as shit. And I'm not actively making iron. So if I'm gonna mine something, it has to be material I'm interested in. I do like a good old steel iron sword that isn't so absurdly large. But man, some of these orc and ebony weapons are insane.
A much more valuable material. Like the Guardian Stone changes, there was significant disagreement around how to proceed. Daydreamer, a frequent contributor and vocal poster on the forums, and another contributor named Sia Levy argued vehemently that the Red Belly mine should be changed.
I mean, if it says it's an iron mine, the NPCs are saying it's an iron mine. I think it's an iron mine. You got the mod that makes ores and ingots weigh 0 because I am a cringe. I've got so much. Well, I've got Bandolia. If you're familiar with that, you can get those pouches that increase your carry weight by a threshold. I guess it's like Fallout 4's mods for your armor that increases carry weight. I like those because I know for a fact I'm going to be picking up a lot of expensive, valuable weapons. And what pisses me off, in lore, Dwarven is the best of the best, yet somehow Glass is stronger. I feel like Dwarven should be insanely good. It's just so heavy that not many people use it. Hey, wait a minute. We can make Dwarf armor. Why can we do that? I guess you can pass that trait, that skill down. I guess the other thing is the only way we're getting Dwarven ingots these days is melting down Dwarven tools. How do you... What's Dwarven metal made out of? Because you can't mine it. At least in the games. Orcish, Elvish, Glass, and Ebony Dragon is so much better. Stronger. Yeah. That's interesting, though. That's cool. That adds a nice little spice to Dwarven equipment, though. It's an alloy, but we do not know what the alloy is made of. So what you could say is the information on making Dwarven armor isn't lost, but the process of purifying the metal is. I feel like wizards could study that, but even then you'd still be struggling. I do like that you'd okay, we don't know how to build it because we don't remember. We don't know anyone that can. No one's alive that remembers. We do know that there is, if you think about it, there are Dwarven mines all over the place, in dwarven fortresses and caves. But all their crap can just be melted down. Make for some good stuff. I need to make like dwarven bolts.
The former argued that, quote, the developers screwed up. Even printed literature says this is an iron mine. The local Radiant quest requires an iron ore. Making the mist red should be a no-brainer. End quote. Arthmore, the new leader of the project, agreed that the mine was most likely intended to be an iron mine and was later changed in error during development, but disagreed with making any changes with the unofficial patch, stating, quote, there's no good alternative either way, because one option means splicing audio, the other option means altering the entire mine to provide iron, get rid of the bodies that aren't supposed to be there, and concoct some sort of red mist effect. Plus editing part of the village exterior to replace the loose ore there, too. Both options are highly intrusive, though I have to think the audio splicing would actually be less of an issue in the long run. Eventually, he concluded, going to close this one out, as fixing it would unnecessarily deprive the game of a source of ebony.
What? Huh? I don't think it would be... Yeah. So, from my knowledge, there are two versions of the cell, not the cell, the entity of like an ore. There's the ground version, because it has to trigger a different animation for mining downward. And then there's the wall version, which you mine into the wall. There's no in-betweens. They all do that. It's either A or B. Literally remove that and swap it out with an iron ore node. Copy paste. Then do the same for the exterior. Huh? You know what's going to happen? We're going to see that they have added shortly after this, someone's going to say, hey, I patched it. I fixed it.
And the rest of this stuff could just as easily have changed after the spiders got there. End quote.
It's all, dude.
But Levy was adamant. Quote, I strongly disagree with closing this. Every piece of information says this should be an iron mine. Convenience for access to ebony is...
Oh, here's a quick question. Skyrim. Ebony... mine. Ebony veins? Ebony ore? Also, can't you buy this? Can't you literally just buy it? It costs money, but you can buy this stuff from, like, NPCs. Gloombound Mine. Yeah, locations. There are some people who change the map to add caves and such. Yeah, the people make changes all the time. 16 veins in Gloombound Mine. 9 in Raven Rock. 6 in Blackreach. Is that the underground cave area? You can buy ebony. There is an Orc Ebony Mine, and there is like 2 in Solstheim. 3 to 7 chunks can be found in the Locked Shack. 3 in Red Belly Mine. So there's only 3 veins in Red Belly Mine. That's like nothing. That would probably just make you 1 piece of armor. Or you could just, you get high enough level, you fight people with ebony armor. Blackreach is the massive dwarf city. Yeah, that's a huge play. Is that the one where if you hit the light at the roof that someone's a dragon? I never knew that until I was watching a playthrough. But yeah, if you're high enough level, you can just buy it. 2 ebony makes an ingot. Huh. With a shout. Oh.
It's not a good reason to dismiss it. That's essentially an exploit. End quote. Under the pressure from Sia Levy and Daydreamer, Arthmore acquiesced, and so they made a series of changes based on the in-game dialogue and context clues from the game. Pointing to the discussions between the villagers, the fact that the miners buy iron ore, the dialogue about a red mist in the mine, which can be a product of improperly mined iron, and the nearby mine with the same
That makes sense. The redness being produced by iron because it's being like inefficiently mined, just hanging off the area.
Number of
you die in this mine. You're gonna get something bad with your
ore
lungs.
nodes, which could have been a point of confusion for poorly coordinated developers, the team set about replacing all of the ebony ore veins with iron ore instead. And to replace this lost ebony, the iron ore in a separate mine was replaced with ebony. This, however, wasn't enough for the team. While the in-game dialogue discussed a red mist in the Red Belly mine, any such mist was lacking in the mine itself, instead featuring only the normal white mist that could be.
Wait a minute, so I'm thinking, where's red mist in this game? Isn't the vampire skooma place full of it? Like a red mist? The stuff like if you drink, you get vampirism instantly, or you die. One of those. I remember that shack out in the middle of nowhere, and there was a whole vampire system, like vampire thing, where they're trying to give vampirism through skooma addicts. Can they have just transferred that here as well?
Be found in other locations. And so, in order to be satisfied that the mine had been fixed, the USKP team adjusted the coloration of the mist texture using modding tools to make it more.
You didn't have to use modding tools. Redwater Den, yeah.
Red.
Isn't that like a pretty unique skooma too?
Though this took numerous iterations in order for them to be satisfied. But soon, the team would extend their.
You know what kind of sucks? That outside of that little den, you don't ever see like skooma sellers peddling that stuff. You sometimes come across a skooma seller, but they're only selling the basic stuff. It's so few and far between, and you got to imagine the laws around Skyrim. You could easily just have skooma dens all over the place. That being said, moon sugar is definitely an import, but there's so many ships, so you'd obviously see a lot of skooma dealings in ship cities or coastal cities like harbors.
Remedies from adjusting in-game assets to creating new assets wholesale.
Or they come over
the
from
the main quest line of Skyrim, the player fights their first dragon, named Myrmilnir, with the help of the guards from a nearby city. If played in English, subtitles will appear for Myrmilnir, but no actual voice lines can be heard, unlike other dragons who appear in the story. After investigating, the team discovered that, while the game's code called for a voice line to play when these subtitles appeared, no audio file actually existed in the game.
This would be I'll take this as an oversight, because a lot of dragons, generic dragons that you fight, don't speak. No, wait, no, this guy says Dragonborn, no, and then dies. To be fair, 99.999% is made in elsewhere, Khajiit homeland. Oh, do you think that... Huh. So skooma is imported. So even if you didn't have skooma made in Skyrim, there'd be a lot of imports in those cities, huh? Like, there'd be a lot. Wouldn't, wait, no, doesn't Solitude count? Doesn't that have a port underneath of it? Isn't that Eastern Company, that like that whole thing there? There's got to be some corrupt labs like trying to peddle off that.
Notably, localized versions of Skyrim included voice acting for these lines in their respective languages, and only the English.
Oh, so there was language in this. It just didn't have an English
version lacked these audio files. Still, without any files, there was nothing for the USKP team to restore. Rather than simply remove these orphan subtitles or leave them as they were, the team behind the unofficial patch decided on a different option. They had a member of the community record a custom voice line for the dragon and added it to the mod, giving Myrmilnir the affect of a wheezing old man.
Wait, this is in base game? I guess Solstheim could also have it because that's all port stuff. Wait, this isn't base game? I thought this was this was, huh?
As
Holy
additions
shit.
to the unofficial patch began
that goes to show how much I've played base
and as
game.
more new players began to enter the modding scene, encouraged by the unprecedented success of Skyrim, a rift began to grow between those who played the game without mods and those who played with the USKP.
It's funny that I could not tell that this wasn't like the unofficial. Would Europe or America help understand why Screamer is so rare? How so? Well, if Elsewhere is so prominent with Screamer, how would then, like, America, Skyrim is Canada, and Elsewhere is about Mexico distance away? Oh, for like imports. I feel like you could super get a lot of that in there. There's so much like corrupt ship rights and stuff.
Given the impractical,
but then you got to like prove it's there. Then again, if you just dump it off an island before coming to the shore, you just have someone like row their boat out there and pick it up. Weirdly enough, there's like no threats in the ocean around Skyrim.
Practicality of reading the
Europe, it would be Sweden to Italy. I guess the main one would just be getting it over the border then. Wait a minute. I need to get the Elder Scrolls map. Oh, here we go. Elder Scrolls map. Elsewhere's to the south of Cyrodiil. So, okay, so boating probably isn't an option. Because going that distance would be a pain in the fucking ass. There's probably a lot of pirating as well. Wait, is this a modern map? What was I thinking Morrowind was on its own little continent. Like, completely broken off. Oh, no, wait, it's super is. The borders of Skyrim are heavily guarded by the Empire because the Eldmere Dominion is very afraid of the Red Guards getting their guns to the Empire. There is tons of piracy around the Somerset Isles. Oh yeah, I can imagine that. There's no official map? What about Elder Scrolls Online? Is that one too outdated? Because it was probably like an earth-shattering thing. Is it not like an Elder Scrolls Online map? Oh, hold up. So is this all theory crafting? Damn, this map looks good. This looks sick. All maps that were made are made by fans or for the game where they size the world down to fit the game files. Gotcha. I like this one. I hope it's not AI. That is why Winterhold, the former capital of Skyrim, has only like 10 houses. Yeah, I guess the scale did get bumped a bit, didn't it? What's this little gray area? What the fuck's this? I imagine most of that is like theory crafting then, because some of these areas don't actually exist. Oh, that's Hammerfell. We haven't seen We haven't seen a lot of these. We've seen Cyrodiil, Morrowind, and Skyrim, right? That's like the two major ones. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, Desert Zammerfell. And we haven't seen that. Unless I think Elsewhere might be in one of the expansions for Elder Scrolls Online.
Bloating changelog, very few modders were aware of the breadth of changes made by the unofficial patch, and given its description as a purely bug-fixing project,
I didn't know that.
Most assumed that, apart from the other mods they were using, they were having the same experience as the vanilla players. Because so few people had the knowledge base to tell the difference, there was little opportunity for the unofficial patch's reputation to be harmed, if not because of their relatively small impact on the game, then due to ignorance. This broad perspective...
I'm gonna plead ignorance as well. I didn't know Dovahkiin, wasn't base game.
On what constituted a bug was illustrated in part by a post made by Artsmore to the AFK Mods forums in July of 2014, in which the team listed the numerous other mods that helped, as they described it, fix the game experience. In this list, they included a mod called Sky UI.
Bro, Sky UI though. Sky UI is so good. I also do not like to use the unofficial patch because it patches a lot of the alchemy bugs that actually make alchemy worth doing. Like what? I know if I recall correctly, which one was it? I know Oblivion. No, it was Morrowind. The fucking patch made it so you couldn't be OP and busted with enchanting. That's like the whole point of that game. The whole point of Morrowind is to become a broken, uncontrollable god. But they patched it so you can't make constant effects as easily. Now, I fixed that bug, but I fixed that issue only like near the end of the game, the playthrough, which is complete ass. But it basically, the soul gem needed to be worth a threshold in order for you to make a constant effect from it. Or you had to like buy shit. You get a fucking constant effect so like for free in a lot of cases. There's a bug that makes it so if you drink a potion you made, then instantly craft another potion, you can keep getting your alchemy artificially up to make max potions. Now you cannot max potions. If you made a potion, then instantly craft another potion. Huh. Drink, craft. Alchemy, I believe alchemy doesn't have an alchemical there's no potions to increase base alchemy strengths. You could get armor equipment, I think you could get stuff for. There was a potion that let you artificially raise your alchemy skill. Wait, there was? Wait, is there? Skyrim. Potion alchemy. You can make Fortify Restoration potions, and they increase the amount of your Fortify Alchemy enchantment. What the fuck? What? Huh? It does not exist. You enchant gear to Fortify Alchemy. You can make Fortify Restoration potions, and they increase. I've not done it in years. Fortify Restoration. Oh. Fortify Restoration. So you're saying they removed this as an effect? Yeah, upgrade Restoration and Alchemy and whatever. So yeah. So it's like Morrowind where you scull a bunch of Fortify because they stack. You scull a bunch of drinks that buff alchemy, make an alchemy of int. Oh no, it was int based, right? You increase your int to increase your alchemy, which in turn increases alchemy. So what you do is you skull. Oh my god. I feel like that should just be canon of the world. You alchemists can understand the intensity of this one trick that all alchemists hate. If that increases the restoration skills. So there's no Fortify restoration. Mountain flowers, pearls. Okay. Spade tail, antlers, salt. I thought I already had salt. No, I had that for okay, maybe they got swapped out.
Y, which sought to offer a menu system more accommodating to players who used a mouse and keyboard. Arthmore wrote, perhaps half in jest, that it was, quote, a PC-centric reworking of the major components of the game interface. Great. Yes, we do, in fact, consider this to be within the realm of bug fixing.
The part of the alchemy patch that made it not worthwhile was the price fix. Oh, so it dropped their price value, and that maybe the price of the alchemy, the thing you make was the XP gain, right?
Because the vanilla PC interface is simply not designed with actual PCs in.
Okay, I will agree. Sky UI fixed some stuff, because in so many cases, when you're in a dialogue tree, this probably isn't for Sky UI specifically, but when you're in a dialogue tree and you scroll down to select an option in the list and go to click it, it always clicked like 1 or 2 above. It never remembers. It doesn't know where your mouse went, which I'm actually not facing because I'm using a controller this playthrough.
In mind. End quote. The next few years progressed uneventfully for the unofficial patch team as they gradually fixed bugs and made small changes to the game, members coming and going as availability and interest waxed and waned. But
Skyrim pre-patch, you could buy supplies, make potions, sell, profit, posted was buy supplies. Sell stuff. What was the I'll probably never forget this one. Wheat, giant toe. Wheat and giant toe made such an insanely strong potion that thing made bank.
But as this time passed, the public perception of the mod continued to change. While the team publicly asserted that they made decisions as a group, the mod was uploaded to the most popular databases under Arthmore's name, and near the end of 2013, the Bethesda forum threads for the USKP stopped crediting any other contributors, meaning that the only person whose name was outwardly attached to the mod was the person who was posting the threads.
Damn.
Arthmore. Finding any further attributions required further research into the AFK forums or...
What made bank? Oh shit, I need to get that up. Why don't I have that doc up? That's weird. Why was that not up? Do you recall Wheat and Giant's Toe? Wheat and Giant's Toe made like a poison, but it was such a like absurd combination of like debuffs that it was extremely valuable. And it wasn't that hard to get a Giant's Toe. Wheat was easy. Giant's Toe, you could probably cheese a giant, or you could just buy a toe.
Or the README files of the mod, something that scarce few were bothered to do. Gradually,
that's the main one I remember.
Arthmore became synonymous with the unofficial Skyrim patch, and the USKP became known as Arthmore's mod. What's more, Arthmore's frustration with the general modding community was beginning to show more and more. Arthmore had a habit of engaging in frequent discussion in forums, arguing over semantics and correcting those who accused his mods of causing issues while dismissing them for their lack of aptitude. Frequently, he would refuse to offer any correction, opting only to inform the user that they were wrong, having long become fed up with supplying explanations to one person only for another person to ask the same questions or demonstrate the same misconceptions later. This was a sentiment shared by many other mod authors. It is common for mod users to encounter problems with a new mod and...
Yeah. This dude reminds me of a Roblox and why I do not play it. Roblox. I must be a boomer. I must be an old ass man. I don't understand. How can people play that game? All that I've seen in that game is people doing little jump games where you just have to perfectly jump, or it's a bunch of kids on in those levels where you jump to earn money to buy a thing. It's a cookie clicker game for that little like world. I think that's how it works. You have a bunch of worlds you can like load into and then run. The problem is the kind of shit Roblox is going under fire for it constantly. I was watching a Meat Canyon video while I was exercising, and it was talking about the how they're just like it's just Wild West in there. Because you can profit off telling 16-year-olds to make a game in it for you and then don't credit them. Also, the whole controversy going on right now that has been a huge thing. Yep. I just don't know. Like, the person running it has no idea what they're running. The big wig, oblivious to everything below. They just know they're getting a shit ton of money.
Rather than using available resources, immediately beseech the creator for a solution, resulting in the same questions repeatedly asked and blame improperly assigned by frustrated modders. This results in mod authors growing jaded toward their own user base.
So basically, people have the unofficial patch, but they're like, why is this doing this? Like, I don't have any other mod on. Why is it not working? Like, it's breaking constantly. Because you can,
some more than others. But Arthmore's combativeness only increased as the years passed, and by the end of 2000...
There is a person out there right now who is in the top 1%ers of the US on money because they hire teens to make games and to buy and sell things for them, then do not pay them because it's just a game, bro. There's got to be some legality to that, though. Because one, I don't think you can't hire, like... And the problem is, the teenagers wouldn't have the wherewithal and knowledge on how to counter the bullshittery. But they could, if all of them join together, if all of them, and they have information to say they are them, and they're the ones getting scanned from that encounter, from being hired, air quotes, they could probably win a legal dispute on that, and it would make big headway. The guy that's literally scammed them and basically gave slave labor essentially because they weren't getting paid, they got nothing out of it. Could easily, unless they're not located in the US. Maybe.
2013, his frustration with the user base was shaping decisions about the unofficial patch. For example, when they noticed that the haggling skill wasn't providing quite as large of a discount as they expected, the USKP team adjusted the numbers and sent the patch live. However, soon afterward, an astute, mathematically inclined user went to the USKP forums to reveal that, while unintuitive, the vanilla mathematics were indeed correct, since the skill described the effect as making the prices better as opposed to cheaper, meaning that, rather than reducing the price by the percentage given, it allowed the player to purchase more of a good for the same price.
Oh, so you can... So this allowed you to buy in bulk, and that would be cheaper than the other modification, probably. They could, but most of them do not know they can get paid. Yeah, oh, I see what you mean. So some of them are being like, dude, do you want to like work together and make this like level? It's like this other one, but like, come on. Dude got ratioed by an actually. Actually. Fucking nerd. Can't even look that up. How do I... There we go. Actually. The haggling perks deliver inconsistent results. Specifically, haggling 0 only gives 9% on buying when it should give 10. Haggling 20 buy price only gives 13 when it should give 15. I think these are level thresholds. Yeah, these are level, like when you're at this level. Haggling 40 only gives 17 on buy when it should be 20, so on and so forth. All the selling bonuses on these perks are correct. The buy prices were using incorrect decimal values to produce the unexpected bonuses. Minor issue, but it seems to me that the initial values were indeed correct. The perk doesn't say that buying prices are reduced by X%, but that they are X% better. The carriers with about a bunch of math. To make my point, a theoretical 100% better price would result in a 50% reduction according to the original formula, making them effectively 100% better since you can buy twice as much, while the USK formula would give a 100% reduction which would not fit with the perk. Okay. Love when people actually know something, put on their glasses and lean in and say, alright, you are wrong. You're wrong, and I'm going to tell you how wrong you're going to so well that your only response will be thinking, well, hell, ass. Yeah, I'm flat. But you want those kind of people to drop in. Because they're the ones that can help, like, figure this shit out.
The bug fix had accidentally introduced a new bug, rather than fixing one, though relatively minor. Arthmore, however...
Now, you say that, but money is so important in this game. If you want a house, it's like 5k. Probably more. I think Solitude might be 7 or 10k. Like, if you play this game not as a hoarder, but as an adventurer, you don't get much money. Like, when I first played these games, console, I didn't have mods. Which means my carry weight was insane. You start with so much carry weight, what the fuck? I'm only at like 300 and something now because I have stamina and carry weight items. I would not be able to carry shit. No, I'm addicted to Skyrim. 5k for a house instead of 500k. It's not even that. It's 500k plus interest. And aka, you're not going to be able to pay that shit off for a while. Like, if you dropped, let's say, like 1,000 each week on a house or a year, you would only drop, what, 52k? 52k. It's 50. It's 52 weeks in a week. Oh my god, am I gonna have to Google this? How many weeks in a year? It's 52, right? Yeah, I remembered. That's 52k. So then let's do a dividing. 500 divided by 52. It'll take you 10 years. It'll take you 10 years. About. Which isn't terrible. Like, in the lifespan, if you can consistently pay that off, that's saying it's 500k and not like interests go up and even more. 10 years is a bit, but it is a property you own. If you had 500k, I would buy the resources to build an Age of Pirates shipyard and build sail ships. Buying raw supplies directly from the source is so cheap it is wild, especially timber and quarry stones. Yeah. Cracked. Insane. I think the most important thing with a house, foundation. You need that foundation to be in pristine condition. So if that house needs to be toppled over, or it like fucking burns to the ground or anything like that, foundations don't have to be swapped out again, because god damn, foundations they can make or break a house, which is why you get so many houses that have like, they're like shifting, they're like creaking, they're like they're like collapsing into the earth. It's
refused to revert the change on the basis that, quote, I can predict with absolute certainty that it will simply be reported again if we undo this. The whole convoluted logic of it defies common understanding because nobody I know thinks 15% better results in a $100 item costing $87. They expect that to result in a $100 item costing $85.
Isn't there a bunch of math behind this doing other stuff though?
End quote. Despite pushback from...
Oh yeah, give me a sec. I gotta try a thing. I'm gonna try a thing, see if it works. I think I have an expression for it. I think. I need an expression editor. New expression. We're calling it glasses. Wait, do I have that? Do I have glasses? I do not. I will create one that does. Now, where is it? This one. Put that on. Save. Done. Then we want to add an expression. Call this glasses. Hotkey. Set unset expression. We want glasses. And then I want that to be a toggle on this thing. Just doing some tech stuff. One moment. Glasses. So no, I gotta rename. That's why it's not working. There we go. I got it working. Actually, if we'll do understand this clearly, you are an idiot. Yeah, I've been so enthralled by talking with you and watching this video. I was gonna hop on Vintage Story. More Vintage Story, let's go. I'm gonna wait a bit. If I can finish Skyrim, because I'll be able to input a bit more time onto a more long formatted game. Because right now I'm focusing one big long format game, a bunch of small ads in between. This month I'm trying to aim for like co-op based stuff. So this afternoon I'm going to be dragging my mates into some Valheim. That's long format, but it's co-op based, so it's got a few mods to speed up the process. But actually,
from other forum users, Arthmore would offer no further reply, apparently choosing to keep the changes in the patch. As the years passed, the USKP team would grow more comfortable with the idea of adding their own new content to remedy issues. In late 2014, one astute member of the team noticed that an in-game book outlining the holds in Skyrim was missing a hold, and so he wrote new text to complete the book. Text that was included in the next iteration of the unofficial patch. Gradually, the scope of the USKP was growing beyond that which most assumed it to be. But Arthmore's frustration would grow in concert with the importance of his modding efforts to the community. When Kevin left in 2013, Arthmore had accepted control of the unofficial Morrowind and Oblivion patches as well as the Skyrim patch.
Oh no.
But in November of 2015, Bethesda released Fallout 4, and Arthmore would begin overseeing another unofficial patch project for this game as well, releasing in April of 2016, further increasing his influence.
Fallout 4 though. Oh. That game was great. But it was shit. I guess that's my format. I got this was I think one of the first games I got. So this came out. Wait, when did this come out? Okay, Fallout for Australia. November 10th, 2015. You want to get Fallout 4? It's a pretty good game. I'd honestly say it's a pretty good game. Oh, get it on discount. Get the collector thing where it has all the DLCs. The DLCs are pretty good. And honestly, you don't even have to mod it that much. Maybe just tweak some functionality. Because the game's good. It was just a buggy freaking mess. I did a lot of building. The building sucked without mods. It was complete ass. But no, yeah, apparently this came out in November the 10th. November. Okay. So, yeah, this came out on, PC? Why would I want Australia release date when I can just get the global release date? Oh, November 9th, 2015. So this came out, I think it was $40. Shit, I think it was $40. I think so. Why is everyone live at the same time? It's convenience, dude. At least for me, I could stream in the afternoon. I could exclusively stream in the afternoon. But then all I'd be doing in the day is editing probably. And that's for my off days. Anyway, what was I gonna say? I wanted Fallout 4, but I wanted to wait. So what I did was, I think it was either the same year or the year after. I got it on sale in Christmas for 20 Australian dollars, which is $12, 12 US dollars, about 13 US dollars. I got that shit on super discount. I think I waited a year. And that was great. That was such a good buy. God, it ran like ass still, without mods.
Influence.
I wasn't too familiar with mods.
Increased, the importance of authorial intent was beginning to shift. For example, in the base game, a unique weapon called the Ebony Blade is unable to be improved, but the unofficial patch team decided.
Yeah, it's like Dawnbreaker. Can Dawnbreaker be modded? I'm gonna be real. I'm about to start using CA dollars. Is that Canadian dollars? Is that Canadian? Wait, no, Canadian dollars is the CAD, or is it? Oh, it's CAD for Canadian. So, I love Canada. You know why I love Canada? It is almost 1-to-1 with Australian dollars. It's 12 cents more at the moment, but it's so close together that if I'm looking on a Canadian website or looking at a Canadian purchasing something from Canada, the price is pretty much going to be the same. I don't have to worry about converting and getting more shit just scammed off me. Not scammed, but the price tag of a US dollar, and then it gets posted and it's an extra $5 for no fucking reason. Ass. Hate it. But no, I remember this. I love Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar. Because during the time that I was into the chaotic trading card game, which was discontinued, and it was more of a collector's item, there was a store. There was a store in Canada that was selling the boxes for cheap. Like, cheap. So I bought, like, a bunch of those suckers. And the postage wasn't even that expensive. It was actually a pretty good buy. I know for a fact, if I bought that from the US, that would just cost more. That would just be so much more. It was stupid.
Decided in 2015 to...
Canada was made to make kids fear polar bears. Britain was made to scare kids into brushing their teeth. And I would say Australia was fake. But Steve Irwin is a hero to make many. He's Talos. Steve Irwin's Talos. People don't believe he's real, but all of Australia knows he's real. Australia's just Skyrim. Everything's out to kill you. Crikey.
To make it possible to upgrade it, citing a loading screen tooltip that noted, any weapon or piece of armor can be improved at a smithy. In response to someone's thread on the AFK mods forums complaining about the change, Arthmore wrote, quote, nonsensical or not, our decisions are generally not based on tales from a potential work of fiction in universe. There is overriding external info given to the person at the keyboard that things were supposed to work a certain way and no exceptions were provided for in that information. If you can produce more than just that book that corroborates the intent, we'll consider it. End quote. However, despite their adamance, 2 years later, this change was reverted. Responding to another person making a post to the same forums complaining about the reversion, Arthmore dismissed them by saying, quote, get a mod that handles this then because the decision was reviewed and decided for reversion after reading up on the lore. The problem with arguing the load screen is that the book in the room with the blade is quite clear, which means the game is speaking to the issue directly instead of a generic load screen that could be interpreted numerous ways.
I think all weapons should be able to be upgraded. How else are they supposed to scale? If you ask a random American on the street what they think of Steve Irwin, there's a huge likelihood they will know him. Yeah. All they'll say is crikey. Oh, he's the guy that wrestles crocodiles or alligators, right? Maybe. He's that guy from Australia that fights kangaroos. Punches him right in the nose. Right in the nose.
We do not consider load screens to be primary sources of lore, especially when they're of the type that explain game mechanics such as this. We are not going to change it again. The lore sources are correct, and
you need to upgrade gear though. Being able to sharpen weapons with your smithing skill is really important. Because that could make a weapon get so much better. I think I have a mod. Who is this? Who is this nerd? Actually, no. That's I'm just thinking of like other stuff that's like smithing for upgrading. Oh no, I have a mod. You wouldn't notice this. You'd barely notice this because I have it like hidden. It doesn't show up on the UI. I've got a mod that makes gear degrade, but degrade in a way that just makes it, if you have it on a high, it's like super sharp. It will eventually, over time, on use or taking hits, it will go down from like legendary or superb to like fine. So it technically modifies the gear in a way the game can register it normally, and that actually still influences the armor without having a whole little system that does a bunch of stupid shit.
A lot more people consider those to be important to maintain. Our decision has been made and we're sticking to it. The lore is clear, what we've done is consistent with it, and that's pretty much that.
Lie.
We are not responsible for the condition of things in the lore. Bethesda is. If you think this needs changing, lobby them to change it. We are not going to.
Oh, this salt.
End quote. This ambiguity of purpose, whether the mod was in service to authorial intent or lore, would only continue to plague further changes. The team was also keen to add new assets, such as higher resolution textures to replace others, despite falling well outside the purview of bug fixing.
Oh yeah, this is
These are only a handful of the changes with which some people took.
That's weird. Why are you messing with textures? That's a texture pack mod. You've been trying to play Bushcraft. What's Bushcraft? Is that a Bushcraft? That's a real life thing apparently. Is it a Minecraft mod? You really don't like this dude. Fuck you. Prove it other than this one book that is seen as lore. Realize I right. Fuck you. We were right all along. And then it's like, fuck you. We're messing with the texture. Oh, Skyrim. Oh, I see what it is. Why is it in Starfield?
Umbrage, and they would continue to accumulate as
I'd make more like tents and camps in this, but the mod I have, it goes through so much resources. Oh, Hunterborn can't find a ton of all stuff to make it rags to riches style things and hyper immersive. That is good. I like those. I think I had too many mods at the moment to pop at least during creation. I was considering Hunterborn. There was another mod where you can pick up corpses and put them on like your back, on your shoulders, and put them on the horse. But during the process, I had a lot of conflicts with other mods because I have several mods that do stuff with the skeleton of the system of your character for like emotes and stuff. But a lot of them were like required. It sucked. Frostborn, Hunterborn, and Campfire. Nice. I'm thinking Frostfall was. I think the creation kit added a weather thing.
Time passed.
I think.
Over the next few years, the unofficial Skyrim patch would continue to become a staple of Skyrim modding, and while a remastered version of Skyrim was in production, named Skyrim Special Edition.
Oh my god, this was before Special Edition? Wait, what did Special Edition do? Difference between Skyrim and Special Edition. Isn't it just 64-bit engine? Yeah. All updated and remastered version of the original. It includes all the DLC, improved graphics. Yeah, improved graphics. 64-bit engine. Yeah, nice. Because Legendary Edition was a base one with all the stuff. If I could make a Red Dead Online server, I would mod it, but loved Red Dead Redemption. But love Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. Sadly, only have online on this PC. Special Edition had free Creation Club content, came with the DLC and some stuff like that. I know the Anniversary Edition came with a bunch of shit because I bought it. I may have bought it. Maybe. But I bought it because it was like $13. It came with a bunch of extra content. And now, if they release like a Master Edition, that sounds like something they do. Skyrim Master Edition. I'm not buying that. I already own it on so much shit. I don't need it.
The unofficial patch team would be given early.
Like, bro, I've got the VR version of this. I got VR Skyrim. I got VR Fallout. I can't play them now because I don't have a VR headset. So that'd be a fun playthrough. The problem with that is setup. And I can play for like 2 hours. My headset was so bad, the cushion on the forehead was so uncomfortable. Skyrim Lichdom Edition releases in 27.801. They're gonna milk the shit out of it. No, you know what they're gonna do? If they pull off a good Elder Scrolls 6, they're gonna milk the shit out of it. And if they have the wherewithal, Creation Club's going to be in there from the get-go. The modding community is going to lose their shit. I feel like Starfield has been abandoned. What is that? Oh, it's a bird. I heard like chipping noise. What the fuck? But yeah, Elder Scrolls 6. Do we know where 6 is taking place in? Is that taking place? Where is Elder Scrolls 6 set? Widely believed to be set in Hammerfell. Oh, it's all speculations. Hammerfell High Rock. Obviously, there's only so many places on the map that you can pick. Duh. Vardenfell's the elf place, right? That'd be such a pretty game. That'd be such a cozy game.
Access, along with a small cadre of other modders and content creators, so that they could make an updated patch available upon this new version's release, which would occur in late October of...
At least the transfer from base game to special edition wasn't so drastic. They promised Shirley Curry, Skyrim grandma, that Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be the next game, then they released the spaceship one instead and appear to be pushing it back more and more. There is an entire 7 continents we have not seen yet. Oh shit. Yeah, but I'm thinking you want a big map. You want a big scaled map. This shit needs to take your time. You need to be absorbed in this game for a while. I'm surprised they haven't done smaller spin-offs of other locations. I don't know if there are other locations. Sunset Isles looks like it's a bit smaller, but I could be wrong. I'm not familiar with the map scale. But it looks like it could be the thing.
Of 2016. Shortly after release, Arthmore would be interviewed as a mod creator by the game studio, though little substantive information would be discussed, mostly acting as a way for Bethesda to advertise the mods from Arthmore that would be available for Skyrim Special Edition. More importantly, it acted as an endorsement of the work of Arthmore and, by extension, the unofficial patch.
Yeah.
With this new
You actually have a lore hard on for Hammerfell. The Red Guards look human, but are the only group of people who are not from this world. Huh. I'll keep playing this.
Updated version, the patch would take on the new name of Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch.
Actually. Give me a sec. Skyrim at night. Ambience. Close up the tabs. Crack that open. Just get this going. Yeah, comfy. There we go. I'll be right back. Might as well get some food while the ad was running. Hello. Oh, good. You have a good one, buddy.
Or USSEP. But just as the unofficial patch was reaching levels of recognition scarcely rivaled by any mod before it, Arthmore would finally begin damaging his reputation so thoroughly that the modding community would begin to turn on him, and by extension, the unofficial patch project.
Why this time, though? What'd they do? Did they mess up this time? Or did they fumble?
A year after the release of Skyrim Special Edition, another version of the game for virtual reality headsets was made available, simply called Skyrim VR. Though there was no official modding support, modders were quick to make a minor change to the unofficial patch to make it compatible, and to their great relief, it largely worked, meaning that other mods which were dependent upon it could be made compatible as well. Over the next year, the small but dedicated Skyrim VR modding...
Gonna be honest, if you can get an environment, a room that it keeps you cool, you don't sweat like shit, you have a lot of space and you're not gonna bump shit, VR is awesome. If not though, it's still okay. Just not, not as crazy.
Modding community grew. But in April of 2018, the unofficial patch team pushed update 4.1.3 to their distribution hubs, and when Skyrim VR players downloaded and installed the update, they discovered that this version was breaking some functionality with the game. In most other instances, this would only be a minor problem, as modders could simply download an older, compatible version of the patch. But when modders who had installed the update went searching for an old version to solve the issue, they were faced with a roadblock. The unofficial patch team had a policy to always remove the old version of the patch when a new one was made available.
What? What? But why? Hasn't there been several situations where you have to roll back your Skyrim Special Edition and base Skyrim because a lot of mods, at least the ones some of the ones that are like really good, they've just been discontinued, and the only way they function is on a later version of Skyrim and the probably the unofficial patch. Did people just like archive the old ones?
This practice was uncommon among mod authors, especially those whose mods are used as a dependency, because new versions can break other mods reliant upon it.
Exactly.
As such, the decision to bar modders from accessing older versions was generally seen as a harmful, if not antisocial, practice, especially given the collaborative nature of modding, but the team continued this practice anyways, ostensibly to prevent complaints from people using an older version of the patch, though the team members have also stated that this was the wish of Kevin when Arthmore inherited the project.
I can see that being the case, though. You know what? There's a degree of it making sense, but it still sucks for other mods that rely on an older version. If you have older versions out, people will complain that some stuff is broken and doesn't work. The problem with that is they can't just actively go back to each iteration of Skyrim and fix that bug. Because that bug may be like an isolated incident.
The unofficial patch team was aware of the problems that this would cause the VR modding community, but Arthmore was unsympathetic in a public statement, writing, quote, "Bethesda has made it clear that the VR versions of the game do not support the use of mods. As a result, this mod will not be supported for anyone attempting to use it on a VR version of the game. Take note."
Okay, I get this one. Expecting everyone that is fixing mods, fixing the unofficial mod on VR to own a headset.
Note that even if Bethesda later changes their mind on this, VR equipment is too expensive to justify the purchase just for the sake of making sure the mod works with it. Please do not ask about this subject in the comments, as all such comments from this point forward will be deleted.
That being said, if someone else could fix it, like I would happily hand over the reins for them to make a VR exclusive version to fix shit. I'd hand the reins to someone that's willing to do the legwork, because they'll probably be way more into getting the VR shit working. Because there's still several people that get motion sickness, the VR sickness, actively. I'm lucky. I'm one of the few people, at least in my like social vicinity, that has no issue using VR. The minute I had that on from day one, I think I had one of the earlier ones, I was golden. I was set. I just didn't have many games. That was the only drawback. There weren't many games at that time. But I did not have any issue. Besides hitting shit on the walls and like chairs and stuff and benches, absolutely fine.
End quote. The helpfulness of the unofficial patch had generally shielded it from criticism, but now, one of its practices was actively harming an entire category of modders, and enough mods used it as a dependency that removing it would also mean removing a number of other mods along with it. Several posts were made to the Skyrim VR subreddit to open discussion around this problem, and Arthmore quickly arrived to enter into dialogue with the users there, though his tone was far from diplomatic. He wrote, quote, "We aren't going to give a rat's ass about VR users trying to shoehorn in something that clearly won't work just because you guys are set in stone on ignoring the facts here."
Where is it? Yous are idiots. I'm correct. Go fuck yourself.
The only dickwad move was expecting someone wouldn't tell me people are being jerks behind my back like this. End quote. Responding to Arthmore, one Reddit user named Tyrandor2 wrote, quote, "We aren't being jerks, nor are we choosing to talk behind your back. You've forced us to talk here instead of your Nexus page. You've stickied a message saying you will delete any comments regarding VR. For the record, many people have been using USSEP and hundreds of other mods with Skyrim VR without issues. You make it sound like some completely illogical thing that clearly won't work."
I think he just doesn't want to do more legwork. It's not late. I'd say it's a small smidge of laziness, but also they've probably got shit to do. They can't be the foundation of like potentially fixing the VR there. So if it still works, let it be. Let it be.
Another reply from the same user implies that Arthmore called VR modders spoiled entitled brats, though the original quote is now lost. With few options available, Tyrandor made another post discussing this issue while also providing a link to a Google cache of the old patch version so that people who had installed the update could revert the change and continue playing Skyrim VR modded without losing dozens of hours of progress.
Patch.
This enraged Arthmore, who wrote, quote, "So you guys are so fucking hard up to push this that you'll resort to piracy now?
My God, you're using a mod. You're using a mod for a game. Isn't that to an extent piracy? Because you're effing with a game, even if it's an okay. Damn.
You are single-handedly doing a severe disservice."
I imagine a lot of people don't even know what the fuck this is. They're just like, okay, a lot of these require an official patch. Yoink. There's no context around it. Which, to be honest, you don't need context around it. It's a freaking mod to make other mods work.
To the entire VR community by resorting to illegal activities to try and force our hand. For fuck's sake.
criminal activity. You cannot do that. That's illegal.
If I knew what your Nexus account was, I'd have you reported for stealing mods there.
It's a good thing they didn't do it on Nexus then, huh?
End quote. Around the time of this argument, perhaps even while it was taking place, Arthmore turned to the terms of use for the unofficial patch and added new definitions specifically targeting VR users. Before, unmodified versions of the mod were allowed to be re-uploaded by others on different platforms, as long as documentation and attribution were maintained, but now he restricted usage, part of it reading, "Distribution for the intent of using it on an incompatible platform such as Skyrim VR is..."
Man, this is really making him out to be an absolute dickwad. You fucking dickwad.
Strictly forbidden. Having done so, he continued arguing with users on the subreddit, hurling curses at them while accusing them of piracy. At some point, the page to download the patch was taken offline as well, barring anyone, VR user or otherwise, from downloading
messed up,
it.
Dude.
However, suddenly, in the middle of this argument, Arthmore made a turn and apologized and restored the patch's availability after only a short time offline. Though the precise wording is lost, other members of the forum seemed taken aback by his apology and commended him for it. Soon, the unofficial patch team would endorse a new mod that made the patch compatible with VR, and those asking on the subreddit would be guided to this mod, as well as an archived version of the unofficial patch, though discussion about VR was still banned and heavily moderated on the USSEP Nexus page, with any post about it purged. News of this conflict disseminated gradually throughout the general Bethesda modding community, and by the time the next controversy occurred, many were ready to turn on Arthmore should the unofficial patch team misstep again, and that misstep would come less than a year later, when his combative attitude would finally find him in lasting trouble. In February of 2019, a user on the Skyrim mods subreddit made a post titled, "Does anyone else hate how the unofficial bug patch adds features and not just bug fixes?" The contents consisted of 2 sentences. Quote, "I use it, but I wish it didn't add things like another set of Archmage armor."
Like, if I'm gonna be honest, if such things are so minor, I don't care. Like, for example, I didn't know that the first dragon you fight, Dovahkiin, was actually a mod. I didn't know that. So I could not critique it.
Changing stats and so on. It's just not the job of the patch to do so. End quote. The top comments on this post were populated with modders having a discussion around the complexities of defining a bug and solutions for those who wanted to revert certain changes, while farther down, many could be found dismissing the person who made this post as misinformed, while others espoused their support for the mod, some more inflammatory than others. One well-received comment described Arthmore's posting history. Quote, "I sometimes wish the unofficial patch would take a more conservative approach about what it considers a bug, but it's impossible to have a rational discussion about these things with Arthmore without it turning into a flame war." As you can see from his posts in this thread, he takes any criticism of the unofficial patch very personally and immediately goes on the offensive, accusing you of lying, lacking skills, having some sort of agenda, etc. Life is too short to have to deal with that, so I just edit out anything I don't like myself.
You can't do that, that's illegal.
End quote. Another user replied, quote, "I'm on the fence about this, because while he does go overboard sometimes, okay, a lot, he and the other contributors have put literal years into the thing, so being annoyed by misinformation is understandable. On the other hand, there's the trend toward behavior that's easily described as volcanic." End quote.
Okay, they're just
shit-talking. As the first reply in the chain suggested, Arthmore had indeed already arrived to the post, replying to comments to defend changes made in the unofficial patch, though as had come to be expected, he had little interest in containing his anger against these commenters, frequently calling them liars among other pejoratives.
Yeah, I don't use the unofficial patches because of it. And frankly, you're not using it because you've believed a lie, or the fact that the hack is bad. The archery one really bothers me because there's no evidence it's a bug. I mean, besides the 3 quests, which specifically award you archery points for combat skills, right? The only thing that had this wrong was the Guardian Stone classifying this incorrectly. All this tells me is that you clearly have not looked into the matter at all because the evidence is crystal clear and was documented. I couldn't give 2 shits about. Same with Salmon Row. The reason he's documented on the track and the channel, maybe next. I could literally not give a shit about that standing.
Among the commenters,
but then again, there might be
user
something else
going
changed.
by Opus Glass, a mod author responsible for publishing the Diverse Dragons collection, which adds a variety.
Oh shit! I'm using that. I'm using that. Huh?
Of unique dragons to Skyrim. After stating that they themselves used the unofficial patch due to the wide array of bugs that it fixed, they revealed that they had to adjust a table changed by the patch, a change with which they disagreed. They explained that, quote, "I understand the reason why they added it, but it's not a very well thought," quote.
Hey, go back a bit. Okay. There are certain things in the disagree. One example, they added an inexplicably low-level version of the Elder Dragon to the leveled list in place of the second Frost Dragon. So with you sleep, you will encounter Frost Dragons at half the rate of any other dragon, and encounter Elder Dragons 1.5 times as often as any other dragon. And you will never know if you're fighting a strong Elder Dragon or a weak one. Icing on the cake is that the Elder Dragon already has the same model as the Ancient Dragon with a different texture, presumably because they ran out of time before making the final dragon model. So effectively, that model becomes 5 times more common than the Frost Dragon model when you have U-Sleep installed, instead of 2x as common in vanilla. I think we've encountered a good variety of dragons. I think the big threshold was the level. Because I was at a certain level, more often than not, I'd encounter, I think, 2 feathered dragons. But most of them have been like new. But I believe they're like level scaled.
By the patch, a change with which they disagreed. They explained that, quote, "I understand the reason why they added it, but it's not a very well thought out reason. And when I've tried to discuss it with Arthmore, he goes all scorched earth, I am holier than thou."
Thou.
End quote. Arthmore, however, took umbrage with Opus Glass's recounting of events. Deigning to reply, he wrote, quote, "And just when was this supposed to have happened? Because I think you're just making it up based on what you thought you had done at some point. They discussed it, I guess? Not one person has ever brought this up to us in any way once the fix was put in place. Make a proper argument in the proper place, this sub is not the proper place, Subreddit, and we'll consider it. Until that happens, though, we're going to assume you're just wrong about this and leave it at that."
I'm right.
End quote. When Opus Glass insisted that the conversation had indeed occurred, and Arthmore insisted that it hadn't, the former found a link to the conversation in question to prove it. Arthmore, however, remained indignant. He seemed
Oh, shit. He got called out on it. He got called out on his bullshittery. "We have never talked to each other ever." Where is it? "I have never spoken to you in my life, so you're stupid. Make another inquiry next time, and I'll consider it." Actually, we've had this inquiry right here. Fuck you.
Willing to acknowledge that indeed someone had discussed this issue with him, and instead began to focus on the fact that Opus Glass had used a different account for the conversation, accusing them of using a sock puppet account. This back and forth continued for some time, with many of Arthmore's replies purged by the moderators before they could be archived, but whatever he said, it was aggressive enough to invite rebuke, and before the conversation could conclude, Arthmore was banned from the Skyrim mods subreddit, one of—
Oh, shit. Now, is that an IP ban? Is that an IP ban or a regular ban? Because he could just make another account, couldn't he?
The largest forums on which to discuss Skyrim modding. This had apparently been a long time coming, with years of arguments preceding this. 2 months later, a moderator for the subreddit wrote numerous paragraphs about the decision. Part of it read, quote, "Common accusations include that someone hates copyright and mod authors and is a zealot when that person criticizes how some authors license their work. He rebrands their disagreement or puzzlement with
Oh,
copyright
they're breaking down
law
how
as
he
a burning
acts.
hatred in order to make them appear histrionic. He's especially fond of the word zealot, and often accuses people of having some vague agenda when they express disagreement with him.
Yeah, not wrong.
In Arthmore's eyes, sincere disagreement is impossible because his viewpoint is objectively correct by virtue of it being his viewpoint. Pirate is a...
Oh, you dare speak of that name in these halls? I'm gonna be honest, that is sounding like a certain character that's getting a lot of flack right now. Now, there are some degrees of like, you fucked up on that one. Other cases, like, others have probably gone too far. But that's where I'll put it.
Another favorite accusation
that's already been
of his,
burnt into
and
the
one that
stratosphere.
he sometimes slings at the drop of a hat. That's the most consistent theme. He seeks not to persuade by sound argument, but instead to intimidate and disconcert.
Yeah, how you
I have
communicate.
never once seen him show tact or empathy in any situation on this subreddit that required either. The only time he has ever actually shown contrition was during his meltdown over USSEP being adapted for VR use.
Even though people were able to get it working. I don't know when I played Skyrim VR. Actually, I could just check. Give me a sec. Skyrim. I last played it in 2020. When did Skyrim VR come out? 2018. So my last playthrough was 2 years after its release. Huh. Okay.
Users, and I don't think even
I
that
use
was
mods as well.
genuine. I suspect that Arthmore went to modify the USSEP permissions to forbid all use in connection with VR, only to see this notice that the Nexus staff put in the relevant form. If you change these settings, then the date and time of the change will be logged. You cannot allow other mod authors to modify or use your resources and then change your mind and expect them to remove your content from their work.
Jesus.
So interpret his apologetic behavior however you will. But what are Arthmore's thoughts on all this? Well, apparently a harsh tone is the only thing that people here understand. He doesn't think he was banned from here for his tone, though. According to his comments in threads on general mod author discussion, Arthmore was banned from here for having the bravery to stand up for mod author rights. We didn't like what he had to say, he claims. Over the years...
Oh, he was talking shit in the other forum. So when he got banned from here, he said, I did a good thing. But in truth, it was because of how he acted.
Arthmore had been constructive more often than he tended to explode at people. More recently, his constructive behavior began to taper off until it was very far overshadowed by his meltdowns. Arthmore has made it clear, both through his lack of improvement...
How the fuck did I make this... Damn!
Here and his words elsewhere, that he is constitutionally incapable of genuine contrition, of self-reflection, and of personal growth. He will never be allowed to return here. End quote.
Oof.
Still, it was clear that many people were still earnestly thankful for the work that Arthmore had done.
He did a good job.
On the unofficial
Just
patch,
some of it
but
sucked.
as many other mods which were still remarkably popular, and criticism would frequently be tempered with proclamations of respect. But it wouldn't take...
Oh, big brain on that person. Big brain on that person. I download every mod I think I might someday want to use. Smart. You know why that's smart? There's so many modders, for some reason, just take their mods off the freaking website, so you have to look in the archives everywhere. Oh.
Criticism would frequently be tempered with proclamations of respect. But it wouldn't take long for the last of this goodwill to be burnt and for collective action to be taken against him, fueled by frustrations with his aggressive nature, relitigations of the changes made by the unofficial patch, and misinformation about what exactly Arthmore had done. On August 3rd, 2019, the program Wabbajack was
fucking peak, dude. This shit is fire. Now, it doesn't just rip it. I think Wabbajack's one of the better approaches to mod packs. Because you still download from each of those sources. It just does it in a speedier route than you just manually adding them. So, Wabbajack is great. Drawback, if you pick a mod pack, you need to be prepared to remove some stuff, because otherwise you're going to see some big boober. You're going to see boober, schlong. There's going to be stuff in there you do not want to see. You don't want that. Get it out of here. But you're going to find out that it's a bit of a pain to do. Most cases, the body mods have a clothing variant, but you can't guarantee that's going to work. So you're going to have to go through all the systems to find out if it's like, you're going to have to like go in game and do some testing to see if there's some pity.
Was released. Named for the famous staff from the Elder Scrolls series, Wabbajack is a program that allows modders to create a list of desired mods, which the program will then automatically download and install, a minutes-long process compared to manual installation, which would usually take hours.
That, I'm going to be honest, if I end up doing a playthrough of Fallout games, which I could, I think I have Fallout 1, 2... Yeah, I have all the Fallout, the major ones. That'd be an interesting playthrough. Because the only ones I've played are New Vegas and 4. I dabbled in 3 briefly, but I fell off because another game probably got released.
And was prone to user error. The benefit to mod users was obvious. Not only did Wabbajack remove much of the tedium associated with modding and allow people to install far more mods far faster, but it also simplified the process, making it more accessible to those with less familiarity. But while Wabbajack had obvious utility, its release was still controversial. For mod users, Wabbajack helped fulfill their desire to use mods quickly and easily, but these goals were not always aligned with mod authors, many of whom...
Some don't see this as like this isn't okay, going through their stuff. Whoa!
That's my paint!
That's my paint! Love this! Thank you! Thank you for the sub! Thank you, thank you! Hope your vintage story games are going well. We rolled after, what was it, Fall Guys? What the hell did we play for co-op the other day? Shit, gotta check. But after the session we had the other day, it was for Night Rain, right? No Sea of Thieves. We rolled Valheim, so I'm gonna be doing some Valheim with my mates. Keep getting kidnapped by ads. No, not the ads. I try to make him. I think I went with the shorter route for like the ad stuff, because I think it's every hour you get a 3-minute one, at least in the back end. Every hour you get a 3-minute one, or every 30 minutes you get like a minute 30. I think that one's probably better. I feel like that might be a better experience. I can't. Actually, honestly, I think that 3-minute one every 60 minutes will be better for Night Rain. I guess it varies. But yeah, we're going to be doing some Valheim tonight. Should be fun. I did a little bit of the labor to get my mates into it. To ease my mates into it. So they can play it more in there. Because I know the grind can be a bit like daunting and boring. I fucking love grinding, like getting materials in that game. But we are going to be using a smidgen mod. Extra drops and a rarity thing. You can get like legendary drops and stuff.
Recognition for their work. Before Wabbajack and other inevitable tools like it, those who wished to use a mod would have to visit a download page that presented the mod author's name and the opportunity to interact with the community and provide feedback. On Nexus mods, this included not only the option to endorse the mod, but to support the mod author financially.
Or I didn't do that originally, huh? Valheim's always a fun one. Was running a modded one, I think, 2 weeks ago. How far'd you get? I think at least the last thing I finished was Skeleton Lore. I think. Wait, is it? What's after Skeleton? The Plains. No, it was Mistlands. I finished Mistlands, and I believe the Ashlands was still getting made during that time. So, depending on the time frame, I will eventually be able to experience what the Ashlands is about before. And by the time I finish that, that's probably when the Northlands or the Great North will show up. Unfortunately, I only got to the Black Forest way before I started streaming. Me and my buddies finished Mistlands, but never got to Ashlands. Oh, I think Ashlands was still just a pile of smoldering when I finished up my last playthrough. Just a bunch of Zertlings? Yeah, Zertling cores.
When using Wabbajack, these features were never presented to the user unless they went searching, something that most users would not choose to do, and so they were far less likely to interact with the modding community. Mod packs had already drawn ire from mod authors, but Wabbajack exacerbated this problem even further, potentially disrupting the mod ecosystem by removing the friction that necessitated some level of recognition and interaction. To most, however, this was far from a consideration. Wabbajack solved a problem that had acted as one of modding's greatest barriers to entry.
Yeah, actually installing the mods, getting them in. You got struck by lightning while typing. Oh no, he's dead. He's gone.
And even seasoned modders understood the utility and were excited to begin using it. While the program disseminated throughout the modding public, however,
Wabbajack's kind of a hit and miss. On one hand, if you have a mod pack that like a mod pack you always use, but you don't have it installed, this streamlines it. But on the other hand, this is obviously skipping people's like looking into mods further. If you just pick a mod pack, you're not really building it up yourself. Being said, you won't catch me modding Minecraft manually. I'm gonna pick a mod pack because I know there's more shit that's broken than that that I can't fix, especially Java Edition. I can go in Skyrim in Creation Kit and fix some issues sometimes, but not Minecraft.
Something odd occurred with the unofficial patch project. On September 24th, 2019, the file for the unofficial Skyrim Legendary Edition patch, or USleep, was altered to be an exe file that would install all files for the user. The Legendary Edition of Skyrim was released many years prior and included the base game along with all downloadable content, but it was superseded by the Special Edition, and the unofficial patch team had released the final update for the Legendary Edition a year and a half prior, choosing to focus solely on the more refined Special Edition. Though outdated...
Interesting. Minecraft modding sucks ass sometimes. Yeah, there's just so much... There's so many things that conflict. When I look at Skyrim, I can pluck out and sort what is going to be busted and what's going to work and not work. I know texture and model mods don't usually mess with a lot of stuff. There are conflicts, but Mod Organizer has this cool thing where that you can organize it so the lower one takes priority. Can't really do that in Minecraft. There's two mods doing the exact same thing, blam, explodes. What's that? You wanted to add rabbits? Okay, we can do that. Wait, this mod's adding rabbits too? You're either going to get twice as many rabbit spawns or no rabbits because they're just going to nuke each other in the code.
Many people still played on the Legendary Edition for various reasons, and so, when this change was made...
I don't think I'd play Legendary Edition Skyrim. That shit bursted. It's also on 32-bit, so I think the threshold of mods you can have is lower.
Players took notice immediately. Many had their theories as to why. Upon release, Wabbajack wasn't compatible with exe files.
They made an exe because I think Wabbajack is just file download. You download a shit ton of files and it just sorts them, puts them in their folders respectively.
And so, many suspected that this was an attempt from the unofficial patch team to prevent Wabbajack from being able to download and install the mod. While there was still some trepidation from mod authors, most mod users were in favor of programs such as Wabbajack, and so, this perceived resistance to it was
Wabbajack is the thing that saves you so much time. You cannot... No one's going to download one mod for Skyrim. They're going to download several. Maybe hundreds. I think if I look at my mod list is comprised of 382 air quotes mods. A lot of them could as easily be just texture packs. But, oh no, 420 for the mod plugin list. Nice. Blaze that shit.
Received profoundly negatively. As if in response, the developer of Wabbajack, Halgari, updated the program within the day to be compatible with exe files as well.
Oh, wow, instantly countered. We're going to make it so you cannot install our unofficial patch because it's an exe. Well, I'm going to counter you with a big brain. I've made exes compatible now. Yeah.
Making any attempt to impede Wabbajack users moot. The following day, Sigurd Stormhand, one of the members of the unofficial patch team, made a post to the Skyrim mods subreddit, which he titled, "A View from a Member of the Unofficial Patch Project."
Yeah?
In the past, Arthmore would have likely been the one to make such a post, but now that he was banned, this was no longer possible. He opened by writing, quote, "Greetings and salutations, friends. I'm writing this because over the last 24 hours or so, I've seen a lot of posts which are perpetuating an inaccurate image of the unofficial patch project."
Alright, people think the exe is to be an ass.
To be entirely clear, I have...
Oh, one sec. Dog wants out. I didn't know this dog got in. What the hell? Got a chihuahua. The family chihuahua likes to hang out on my windowsill. But the little bugger sneaks into my room all the time.
Written the following entirely at my own volition, with neither input nor prompting from any other unofficial patch project member or anyone else. Let me clarify this point so that people are clear. Arthmore runs the project with great dedication, but at no time in the more than a decade I have known him have I ever heard him describe it as my project. Also, to be clear, run in this context means he administers the project website, the bug tracker, assigns tasks/begs for help, moderates the forum, and handles the release schedule on multiple platforms and to multiple websites, and generally keeps things on the rails. What Arthmore doesn't do is unilaterally decide what gets fixed and what doesn't, nor does he unilaterally decide the format in which the patch is uploaded. More than once I've seen Arthmore own a change in the patch and take all the subsequent flack from angry users for whatever reason when that change was argued for and implemented by someone else. That he carries out this last function with great assiduity is beyond doubt, though perhaps it could be done with less acidity.
Yeah. Just don't be a bit less aggro.
End quote. After briefly addressing the security concerns that programs like Wabbajack introduce and the potential effects on the modding scene, he gave the reasoning behind the abrupt and unannounced change to an EX.
Oh, there's another interesting side of that. Wabbajack can download a mod pack with a bunch of mods, but you don't know what's getting installed. So if you picked an unofficial, uncurated mod pack, you might have trouble. You might have a few issues. Just a few.
C file for the old Legendary Edition unofficial patch. Quote, It was decided to see if people really want exe installers or if they want Wabajack despite it being an installer. This is why the Nexus mirror of USleep was converted into an installer. What we discovered is that people definitely don't want exe installs, even if they are performing manual installs. However, despite this, people do seem to want a Wabajack exe installer. I find that contradictory. Either exe files to install mods automatically are good or they are bad as far as I'm concerned. Rather more troubling was the fact that a Wabajack developer immediately took it upon themselves to break open the exe and integrate that ability into Wabajack, which contradicts previous commitments to abide by the wishes of mod authors and not include their mods if permission is withheld.
So they're doing a little theory crafting. Hey, Beerstone, hello. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing grand. We're just going through a down the rabbit hole video on the unofficial Skyrim patch. It's going longer than I thought. This video is an hour and 30 minutes long. I've doubled that.
Stop your shrimping.
Back fixed. Back fixed. But yeah, we're going through seeing how this came to be. The OG, the source behind the unofficial Skyrim patch, the thing that everyone uses, the thing that I didn't even know modified stuff I thought was base game. Turns out a dragon that spoke at the beginning was done with the mod. I didn't know that.
End quote. But few people believed Sigurd's explanation. The top-voted comment, which had nearly 3 times the upvotes as the original post, explained the issue succinctly. Quote, "The exe installer for USleep did nothing functionally desired by users. It was just pointlessly in an exe installer when setup was already able to be handled by a variety of
Oh yeah, like mod organizer and stuff. If you were to... I don't know if mod organizer or Nexus... I don't know, the Nexus mod manager... Yeah, that's what it says. NMM. I don't think those can handle EXEs. I think you have to run those, unless it's changed. Last I recall, it was mostly files you just planted.
Methods. Wabajack automates the install of many mods, a functionality desired by users." End quote. Other users were quick to reject the comparison that Sigurd made. In the replies to the top comment, another user wrote, quote, "They're saying they innocently, after Arthmore suggested it first, decided to switch USleep to a registry editing exe just to see if anyone would like that, in much the same way that one might innocently kick someone else in the shin to see if they were a surprise masochist."
A weird jump. I think they were theory crafting. I feel like they were theory crafting. Like, how comparable can they be together? More than anything.
End quote. These skeptical commenters would be proven correct 6 years later when Sigurd replied to another user in the Oblivion mods
6 years later?
subreddit, where he clarified that the true reason that they had taken this course of action was far less innocent than he implied in his post. Quote, "What other bonkers..."
Warning, don't use Arthmore's new OBRE patch. Potential risk to stability, but in Oblivion, I was there for Gate. I watched it happen in real time. Arthmore was the one who got harassed. All he did was ask for copies of his mod to be taken down, and then for mods that vandalize his work to be taken down. If you have a problem with that, I frankly don't know what to tell you.
Stuff are you talking about? The time we turned the Skyrim version of the patch into an exe file for a day? That was a protest against Wabajack distributing unsigned executables, and it actually convinced Halgari to change the way Wabajack worked.
Oh, okay. I now understand. If Wabajack can just take a bunch of EXEs and install them, that could be dangerous. Because a mod author gets their account hacked, for example. They convert the download of a very popular mod to an EXE that malwares the shit out of your computer. Wabajack won't know the difference, but they will install it, and then it's your problem.
End quote. Indeed, in the replies, the lead developer for Wabbajack, Halgari, appeared and offered to enter into a dialogue with the unofficial patch team, which occurred just a few days later. While this would only be partially effective, it seemed to sate the team for the time being. However, for many, the unofficial patch team had just spent the last of the goodwill that they had with the community. Arthmore's incendiary rhetoric was still fresh in the minds of many modders, and their actions to resist Wabbajack and other mod installers was seen as selfish and regressive. It would only take a few more actions for the community to completely turn on them.
I do like Wabbajack. Big fan of Wabbajack. Very useful. I won't deny that.
In March of 2021, file hosting service Dropbox removed
Oh no. What did they do this time?
An old version of the unofficial Skyrim patch being hosted on their services in accordance with a DMCA takedown request issued by Arthmore. Specifically,
Oh shit. So someone has the Dropbox file. Arthmore requested that get DMCA'd and removed. It's gone. Unless it's on like a USB, maybe.
This was the file that the Skyrim VR modding community...
Also, I do apologize. I love absorbing this kind of information like this. I'm good at like... I suck at... I can read, but I have to absorb a sentence several times. This is very helpful for me. Because it's taken so long, we probably won't be able to play Skyrim today. That being said, I'll make up for that. I'll play Skyrim tomorrow for sure, though. But in terms of time frame, we're going over budget.
Community was using and sharing among one another. While there was still a compatibility patch that made the new version usable, many preferred to use the old version of the patch, since it required fewer steps and was guaranteed to be compatible with certain other mods.
Exactly. Yeah, basically you want to downgrade a version of the patch, because that's more functional with other stuff. By patching it, more mods become broken.
Goodwill that Arthmore had bought with his apology a year and a half prior was now burnt. The problem of hosting the patch would be solved only a few months later. Nexus Mods, which had grown to be the largest host for mods over the years, had announced their collections system some time ago, a system similar to Wabbajack that allowed modders to create...
Oh yeah, that is a thing, isn't it?
Does
it function the same though? I know the one for and collections to download
lists that could be installed together and shared with others. However, these mod lists would naturally depreciate if people could remove their mods or if updates made...
Oh, that's the other issue, isn't it? Just people are like, I'm not updating this anymore, or I don't want to share this with anyone anymore, so I'm going to pluck it from the internet, and the only person that can use it are essentially people that are archived.
Made certain of these mods incompatible with others in the list, and so, on July 1st, 2021, they clarified that old versions of every mod uploaded to their servers would be archived and remain downloadable indefinitely. While some mod authors expressed discomfort at this idea...
Yeah, whoa, big Nexus, man, what you doing?
Most seemed either to be indifferent or the loss of control was worth the chance to use Nexus as a platform. However, this was unacceptable to Arthmore, who had historically abhorred the idea of old versions of his mods being available online and felt strongly about the ability for mod authors to express a legal copyright to their work. Speaking in a thread dedicated...
I feel like he's gonna lose this battle because you're using the Nexus mod service. And there's probably some... like agreement, like you forfeit this shit and this shat and that crap and this and that and blah blah blah. So technically, by using Nexus mods for your source of modding, we have rights to that to at least archive it, and that would probably be updated in the new terms
to the
of service.
topic on the AFK mods forums. He wrote, quote, I've been silent on this subject because I didn't want to generate any controversy over the issue beyond what's already out there, but as this is going to become apparent soon enough anyway, I figure the time is now to say something. I have just submitted a file deletion form to purge 100 mod pages that have been uploaded to Nexus over the course of the last
I didn't want to generate any controversy. I'm going to delete 100 pages of mods. What the fuck? What the fuck?
15
Holy
years.
shit.
I did not want to do this, but Nexus has made it clear that they do not respect mod authors in the slightest, and I felt that I had to respond to that in the only way they've left us.
Right, because Arthmore, their patches and the unofficial patches are on his account.
This represents a great deal of time invested for me, and I'm sure folks can imagine it hurt like hell to submit that form, but in my opinion, my rights
Patches are still here, though. I wonder what happened.
Are far more important. That said, yes, I am leaving a handful of things up for Skyrim Special Edition. You can all call me a hypocrite for doing it, but I don't fancy starving to death due to lack of money either. No further updates to any of my mods will be done, and no
My mods! My mods! Mine!
new material from me will be uploaded in the future. Due to existing agreements with the unofficial patch team, the patches will be the only content under my account that will receive its regular updates, so don't ask about the rest because it won't be happening. And to be absolutely clear on this, no permission is granted to any
Dude, you should have done this first. Because people are going to download the shit out of these
upload
patches.
any of my work to Nexus Mods or any other site. Do not ask because the answer is no. End quote. This thread was filled with people who shared Arthmore's sentiment, lamenting Nexus's decision, and some offering.
I can definitely confirm this. Somebody else looked up terms of service on protocols on legal site, found that according to said site, if the terms of service includes an unilateral provision stating that the company can change it willy-nilly and not tell us so, then TOS is entirely unenforceable.
Unprofessional but enthusiastic legal advice. This was perhaps to be expected, given that it was his website. For most of the modding public, however, the most important fact was that the unofficial patch would remain on Nexus, despite his anger. In fact, these changes meant that, while Arthmore would remove many of his mods, the archive of old versions of the unofficial patch would now be available to those who desired it through Nexus, meaning that the Skyrim VR modding community no longer had to quietly pass the old versions among one another. But just as the unofficial patch was becoming more accessible to VR users,
we just did this, Eric. A few streams ago, I got messed up here. This guy back here, where is he?
But just as
this little bastard that trails you off, like, I'm wounded, help me take the friends. He had some fire arrows that explode.
An official patch was becoming more accessible to VR users, console users would see themselves stymied instead. While modding on console versions of Skyrim was less common, there was still a community around it, though their capabilities were extremely limited. For the Xbox version of the game specifically, console mod users were limited to 5 GB of space and 150 unique mods, but some were still dedicated enough to make it work. Discussions around whether or not to use the unofficial patch specifically were floated due to its remarkably large size, at the time at 366 megabytes, peculiarly large for a patch meant only to fix bugs. User Snipey360 wrote that this file size could be attributed to, quote, roughly 15 megabytes of bug fixes addressed by a modification of the ESP file, yet another 350 megabytes of included.
So what they're saying is, all those little patches, all those little fixes, air quote fixes, all the stuff that's making texture modifications is bloating the patch. The patch would be so much smaller if not for all the texture models and stuff.
Textures, meshes, sound files, and scripts. End quote. However, since many mods relied upon the unofficial patch, there was often little choice over whether or not to include it if someone wanted popular mods. In the interest of reducing size requirements while still providing some measure of bug fixing, user Snipey360 created a single patch incorporating a large number of fixes from various mods, which, while not as comprehensive as the unofficial patch, still provided numerous quality of life improvements, and released it in November.
Oh, he made a mod pack. He made a mod pack for the console version. Okay, cool.
Of 2021. Naming it Reconciliation. Many of the included mods were bug fixes that had either been donated to and absorbed into the unofficial patch, or
they're trying to work around the 350 megs of unnecessary shit.
Or mods that the unofficial patch project publicly stated were made obsolete by their work. However, shortly after it was uploaded, it was taken down by Bethesda with little to no reason given. When people noticed its disappearance, they immediately began to suspect Arthmore, whose fondness
oh no, point the finger. Who is guilty?
For DMCA takedown requests was at this point well documented and well practiced.
Also, he knows a guy. He knows a guy in Blizzard. Blizzard Bethesda. Oh no. Oh shit.
Beseeching the Bethesda moderators, Snipey asserted that reconciliation did not infringe upon the unofficial patch's terms of use, but in response, the moderators were extremely vague, stating,
"Oh yeah, I guess if they're straight up just using a bunch of mod packs that aren't linked to the unofficial, why is he getting in trouble?"
"We regret to inform you that your appeal is denied due to the evidence within our system for uploading a mod without respect for the rights of others."
That's fucking vague, dude. That's vague as fuck, dude. Without the respect for the others. From the looks of it, he posted all the links so you can download it yourself.
They then threatened to permanently ban him should he be found in the wrong again, though what precisely he had done wrong was left unspecified.
Yes.
Perhaps driven in part by a publicly stated frustration with Arthmore, Snipey uploaded the mod again, but this time with two versions, one that omitted the unofficial patch and one that included it. Again,
he's gonna do some theory crafting once again. Which one is gonna get him banned?
The version that omitted the unofficial patch was removed, and, again, suspicion turned to Arthmore was removed.
Due to Bethesda limits on character spaces descriptions, further links can be found here. Permission all mods included. Description, this is a compilation of bug fixes. How interesting.
Removed, and, again, suspicion turned to Arthmore. This suspicion was encouraged by the fact that the only distinction between the version that was allowed to remain and the version that was taken down was the presence of the unofficial patch. News quickly made its way to the Skyrim mods subreddit, where Arthmore had been banned, and the assumption...
And he can't talk on here, so okay. Snipey360, a member of the modding community on Skyrim mods Xbox, decided to try and make a heavily requested bug fix compilation. Oh no! So what he made a compilation. I don't think they're all manual downloads, and then they're formatted in the file and then probably put on the Xbox. Not replace, but rival it in some point. This bug fix compilation includes a slew of fixes and some of the mods by individual authors, which USSEP pulls from, with full permission as shown here. Okay, you got permission to use them. Yeah. Mod takedown with no response from Bethesda on what looks to be bogus terms is legitimate cause for concern and has understandably inflamed the console community. Also, to be clear, reconciliation, the bug fix bundle in question, is not even a direct replacement. It appears that the takedown was directly related to USSP as the alternative version that still requires USP was left up.
Of the USKP team's involvement carried over there as well, and discussion of them began. One of the top voted comments made a troubling accusation. Quote, "One of the USSEP team already came out and said that they actively try to shut down competition. You have to fight this until the bitter end." End quote. When someone expressed dubiousness, another user chimed in to give context, explaining how problems in the modding scenes of previous Elder Scrolls games.
Because of Morrowind and their unofficial patch, the Morrowind community teamed up and made a better patch that isn't hooked to anything. It's just the raw fixes with no stupid fictionary edits over weapon stats, skills, and other mechanics. This incident made them rush both Oblivion. Why is that capital? Rush both Oblivion and Fallout 3. These two made the game so unstable that the blame over the game being so bad on modern machines came from these two mods, and it didn't fix the game at all, and they put this stupid rule on top of it to help them.
Had led to the problem.
You made a shipyard first thing, just 5 big logs to roll boat into sea with resources put in them. Oh! Wait, you have to do that in Vintage Story? That's sick. That makes complete sense, though. You'd build the boat on land, and then you'd roll it out. That's awesome. So do you have to literally drag a giant log and like roll it out, and then build the boat on top? Make the rollers, then build the boat bit by bit. Oh, how big's the boat? That's got to be so immersive, dude. Oh. I want my first actual base to just be a boat I sail with. Like, if it can manage, like, moving around with inventory and stuff, that's good. Think it can seat, like, 8 people? Ooh. How, like, dense is it, though? How far in the water does it go? Does the game have the same ruling of, like, it's boat-sized? Oh. So I imagine it, like, bumps into the early shore. The sands. You can add seats or cargo. Can you rope a boat to another boat in any fashion? Can you have like a rowboat on it as well? Because that's cool. I know Minecraft. I have to compare it to Minecraft. Sorry, my bad. Minecraft had like airships and boats and stuff, but every time I used those, they were so broken. They had to be like frozen in place to be able to interact with the contents. Like you have to pause the vehicle somehow in midair. It's weird. Man, it's that immersive though. Sick. Did one of you say weather was in or planned to be in? Because that's adding wet. Oh, I think food, right? Food had seasons. Weather is so in, yeah, because I remember you had to like prep for winter. I remember having a discussion around that. I had to prep for winter. Crops would only grow in certain conditions, that kind of stuff. Nice. I imagine animal care is a pain in the ass,
in the present day. Quote, because of Morrowind and their unofficial patch, the
I'll get a house that is Torment Nexus of Lightning.
Morrowind community teamed up stupid fanfictionary edits over weapon.
Wait, did I read this bit? Oh no, I did read this.
Stats, skills, and even mechanics. This incident made them rush both Oblivion, made by Quarren and Kevin, aka Arthmor's bosses, and Fallout 3 patches, also made by Quarren and Kevin. These two made the game so unstable that the blame over the game being so bad on modern machines came from these two mods, and it didn't fix the game at all, and they put this stupid rule on top of it with the help of Nexus.
Damn.
End quote. More mod authors appeared to encourage others to avoid making mods that use the unofficial patch as a dependency. But in a surprise turn, Arthmor reached out to Snipey and revealed that the takedown request was actually from a different mod author whose mod had been used in reconciliation and wasn't from the unofficial patch team. While Arthmor wasn't willing to remove any content from his team's work, which had bloated considerably over the years, he was willing to find a way to compress it to 2/3 of its original size, specifically.
Man, this guy is bloody back and forth. I don't know what Arthmor's about. He has these like mood, like at least portrayed in this video, he has these mood swings of anger and then like working with people.
for the Xbox version.
God damn.
While Snipey would apparently reconcile with Arthmore, at least temporarily, this update would go mostly unnoticed by the larger community, meaning that many still assumed that Arthmore had been the one to demand the takedown, further damaging his reputation and, ergo, that of the unofficial patch. In the following year and a half, this deterioration would finally begin to have tangible results, as the efforts to expunge Arthmore from his central position in the modding scene would become so large that mainstream gaming news outlets would begin reporting on it.
Really? Gaming? Okay. Skyrim Special Edition. Official patch. What's the last update on this patch? Came out in 2016. It's 2 days. It got updated 2 days ago. Why do they need to be updated so much? I feel like most of the fixes would be done by now. Is Bethesda still updating Skyrim with these random bitches for their creation club shit? That's probably it. That's my guess.
Over the course of 2021 and 22, community opinion of the unofficial patch began to rapidly sour. At first confined to bits of lore known only to the niche community, this information would disseminate to a much larger audience as people began to discuss these problems. Conversations about the project in any form would inevitably begin discussing at least one of three primary topics: Arthmore's unpleasant demeanor, the various controversial changes that the patch made, and the team's penchant for attempting to quell any other bug-fixing projects. This last point would frequently be invoked, but when pressed for specific examples, none could be given, instead defaulting to the Gategate incident from a decade prior, or to Arthmore's aggressive DMCA claims on old versions of the unofficial patch, as well as takedown demands on Nexus for mods made specifically to change the unofficial patch that weren't given the team's blessing. However, when Arthmore announced changes to the unofficial patch due to a new official game update, team member Garthend attempted to respond to the strong backlash and revealed an important mandate from the team. This message was eventually deleted along with Garthen's Reddit account, but its contents were copied and posted to other forums, preserving it. It read in part,
"Copied. Could have been tweaked, but probably not. But probably. It's the internet."
Quote, "If it was up to me, we'd simply open up the permissions of USSEP and stop accepting external bug reports to reduce our workload. Unfortunately, we inherited the patch project from Kevin on the condition that we would keep the permissions closed and try to prevent rival patches." He had some bad memories from rival patches in the Morrowind era, apparently. "We really didn't want to have to make a competitor patch from scratch, and, well, all I can say is it seemed like a good deal at the time." End quote. One major goal of the unofficial patch was to act as the primary bug-fixing mod favored above all others to unite the modding community, and this was likely an impetus for the list of bug-fixing mods made obsolete when the unofficial patch launched. Now that it had been central for so long, even starting another project seemed preposterous, as it would be a monumental task to replicate an entire decade's worth of fixes and changes from a team of multiple people receiving bug reports from hundreds, if not thousands of people. Most modders agreed that it was simply too late to begin such a project anew. If this truly was the intention of Kevin, then he had succeeded.
God, I decide what is to be.
A small number of controversial changes would be resurrected and re-litigated frequently. The changes to Red Belly Mine and its
everyone just
ore
pointing
were a
fingers,
common refrain,
bouncing
as
back
was
and
the
forth.
removal of resto looping, an exploit that allowed players to rapidly level certain abilities.
I think King of the Slimes mentioned something of this nature. Just maybe mention something about this exploit in the game.
And changes to the Necromage perk. Much of the time, the reasoning behind
That's just not neat.
The changes remained on.
Oh, right here.
Its ebony ore were a common refrain.
Where is it?
The changes to Red Belly Mine and its ebony ore were a common refrain.
Where was
A
it?
small number of controversial changes would be resurrected and relitigated
Think it was here?
frequently. The changes to Red Belly Mine and its ebony ore were a common refrain, as was the removal of resto looping, an exploit that allowed players to rapidly level certain abilities, and changes to the Necromage perk.
Yeah, I think that's what they're referring to. But resto looping could also just be spam healing, maybe? But resto looping might also work in the alchemy front. If they remove the ability to create fortify restoration, because technically if you did that, you could power level alchemy and restoration, because next time you do a heal, it does mad XP gain.
Much of the time, the reasoning behind the changes remained unspecified and unexamined, and given that it would take significant time and effort to trawl through forum threads to find the relevant information and form a cohesive opinion, most people on Reddit or the Steam forums learned through other users' summaries. While specific changes could be found by using a keyword search in the changelog, examining it in its entirety would be a massive task, given that after a decade, it was now over 200,000 words long. The negative opinion of the patch was not universal, however. Many people still supported its use, and those who derided it acknowledged its overall positive impact on the game. Some supporters would go so far as to say that Skyrim was nigh unplayable without the unofficial patch.
Oh my god, he's still scrolling down there. So you can still play Skyrim without the mods. You can play a base game. In my opinion though, it looks like shit. Visually looks like ass. There are some good spots. The rendered distance is ass. The level of details are ass. But I don't care for much about that. I care about the visuals, like the amount of, like, SMIB? Is it SMID? That one that modifies meshes so there's, like, more rope circles and stuff. Do you risk being in the boat with a fish the size of a boat? Who would win? Boat with a slime on it or boat-sized fish? I'm going to say the boat. Surely they don't eat the boat. It's made of wood. Not tasty.
Patch, with long, fawning screeds written to support it. After a decade, a clear rift in the Skyrim modding scene had emerged between those who supported the unofficial patch and those who were against it, though those in the latter category—
Oh, no boat, just me? Oh, okay, you lose. Sorry. Bye. Bye, Slime. Slime's dead.
would typically refer to Arthmore and the patch interchangeably.
Rest in peace.
Soon, those who took a stance against him would have the opportunity to lock him and the team from the center of another game's modding community. Back in 2018, Bethesda—
I had a feeling this was going to come up. I'm not surprised. Starfield plays so fucking boringly.
had announced a new game in development called
Starfield,
and in 2022, close to its initial release date, a new modding project was announced called the Starfield Community Patch. Gaming news outlet GamesRadar interviewed some of these early organizers,
I do remember this, though.
and they gave several notable insights. On the topic of responsibility and ownership, they stated, quote, "If you look at other large modding projects that exist out there today, you'll find that quite a lot of them have suffered from growing pains at some point during development. These problems often stem from questions around ownership, copyright, vision, etc."
Pointing fingers.
End quote. Immediately, people understood this to be referring to Arthmore and the unofficial patch project, and that part of this new project's mission was to break their monopoly on Bethesda bug-fixing mods, though they never explicitly mentioned this angle. The game was delayed into the following year, but when the final release neared, Nexus Mods made a news post announcing that the project would begin as soon as Starfield was available, and while not openly endorsed by the site, the core—
Wait. But didn't the creation kit, the creation club, not the creation club, the creation kit to allow you to tweak the game wasn't released for another like 3 months?
Our team consisted of multiple people who worked for Nexus Mods, including the community manager, who promised to, quote, bring any resources in from Nexus mods and support the patch as part of my day-to-day duties. Another notable figure was Halgari, creator of the Wabbajack program and head of
Interesting. They brought in some big names.
The Nexus mods desktop development team. Most notable for those paying attention to the unofficial patch, however, was a section about 2/3 of the way through the article with the header, "Is this from the same team that made the unofficial patches for Skyrim and Fallout 4? Its contents read, quote, "That's a bit of a complicated question, but the shortest answer is no."
They should definitely just, working on a different team means the unofficial patch team doesn't have to be overloaded with fixing stuff.
When setting up this project, the unofficial patch team were consulted and invited to contribute, but there have been no confirmed plans for them to be involved. The unofficial patch team deserve the utmost respect for the work they've put into the Elder Scrolls and Fallout patches over the years, and they would absolutely be welcome to be
Starfield's unofficial patch. Something's not right. Something's off with this one. Because his name's on that patch. Unless it's different.
A part of the Starfield community patch project. End quote. On the AFK mods website, however, the unofficial patch team and the small group that had gathered around them were far less complimentary to their new competing patch. Arthmore was quick to declare that they were entirely unaffiliated with the community patch and derided them for their methods, writing of them, quote, "It's a very corpo style they've chosen to deal with things, with loads of complicated development tools being employed for the usual trendy reasons. We may not be
It's project management, guy. You gotta get, some of the processes for project management do change. And they'll obviously change depending on the scenario. Having it more official is probably in the best interest of the patch. Because we don't see behind the curtains of the unofficial patch team.
The fanciest operation out there, but this is a community project. It doesn't need GitHub integrations and over-engineered tools to make it work. The bottom line with Nexus is that when they hatched plans to offer mod packs, they went full corpo and turned on the very people who made them what they are today.
Sounds very salty.
End quote. With both teams confident in their ability to attract the attention of mod users,
are they going to be competing?
Time to discover if the dominance of the unofficial patch project could be shaken. But even as the team continued work, they would oscillate even further with some of their changes. The Red Belly Mine, which had practically become a rallying cry for those frustrated with what they saw as overzealous changes, began to receive further adjustments. Originally, its ebony ore had been changed to iron, and the iron in another nearby mine changed to ebony, but now the unofficial patch team decided to resurrect an unused mine left in the code, which they named Bitterblade Hollow. The patch notes don't name this cave, but they do note that the cave houses the ebony nodes and a small pack of wolves, nothing more. However, this was either an error or a joke, as various mod users noticed that a book called the Bitterwitch Journal could be found in this new cave.
Shots fired.
Which included a poem either written by one of the unofficial
The bitter witch, the bitter witch, the bitter witch, tall, sharp and thin. The bitter witch, where do we begin?
Patch team or pulled from other lore. These changes caused significant confusion for people who had been playing the game for over a decade at this point, with one Reddit user questioning themselves. Quote, "I've played this game 20 times in the last 12 years, and that was actually new. I kinda wondered if I might..."
That's probably what I've been experiencing throughout my playthrough so far. There's probably a bunch of stuff I'm like, I've never played this. This has never been here before. This is a new quest. Easiest noticeable thing, though, is the voices.
Stroke. Confusion like this had become commonplace on sites like Reddit, where players would mention something about the game only for another person to arrive and express that they had never seen such a thing before, unaware that one of the two was playing with the unofficial patch and was unaware of just how many additions the mod made. This new inclusion accidentally broke another popular mod that also used this mine, and people began to complain. As such, the team decided to remove Bitterblade Hollow and move the ebony ore to a nearby animal den. However, stating that the presence of ore in an animal den felt unrealistic, they again announced their intention to move the ebony ore back into the mine where they had originally moved it a decade prior. With such a divided community and so much attention on Arthmore, a significant contingent was willing to throw out Arthmore by whatever means available, and a sudden announcement would allow for the most public litigation of the unofficial patch project to date, something that would offer the truest test of the team's hold on the Elder Scrolls modding community and threaten the obscurity that had screened scrutiny.
Hands up, here it comes.
In 2023, information had leaked about the production of a remastered version of Oblivion, the game preceding Skyrim.
Oh shit.
In the Elder Scrolls series, and 2 years later, in April of 2025, more insider sources began leaking information that the game would be launched imminently. Arthmore, however, was unconvinced. On the AFK forums, he wrote, quote, "Just to be perfectly clear here for anyone stumbling on this months or years from now, no such remake is coming."
Are you sure about that?
All of the leakers to date have said it would be out already, and it's obviously not here, and Bethesda has made absolutely no noise about it at all.
It's because Bethesda wasn't making it. It wasn't Bethesda, it was another team, right? They were just like, love letter, getting it up and running. Not only that, like, it probably got a lot of setbacks. Possibly. If there was no date determined. Wait, was Oblivion announced in a Gamescom or something? On Xbox?
At all. They would have by this point if it were real. When other forum members pointed out that the magazine Forbes made a short article reaffirming the leaks, Arthmore retorted, "Forbes, like many others, has fallen victim to a falsity." End quote. On April 22nd, 2025, Oblivion Remastered was both announced and released to great fanfare.
Yeah, it's same day. Same day release.
From fans of the series, and naturally, people began to wonder when mods would begin to appear. They would not have to wait long. A week after the game's launch, a new unofficial patch for the game was made available. Immediately, people were suspicious. A week was an extremely short time for such a mod to appear, especially given that no official modding support had yet been offered.
Oh, I wonder who made that patch. Died and flew in the air. Did you get giant whacked?
Something for which the team had historically waited. Scarcely 2 hours after the unofficial Oblivion patch was uploaded, a post to the Oblivion mods subreddit was made titled, "Warning, don't use Arthmore's new Oblivion Remastered patch, potential risks to stability." In this post, the author showed evidence that the unofficial patch team had simply taken the unofficial patch for the old version of Oblivion, made some small changes for compatibility, and released it after only a week.
Well, in truth, wasn't there isn't there like foundations of the Oblivion remaster just Oblivion? It's got that I guess the word, if I had to word it, it'd be like, at least the code, a lot of the code is the same.
Immediately, people began reporting issues, noting that the game would crash to desktop when entering some specific areas, a bug that likely should have precluded the mod's publishing, especially given the team's insistence on making their patches stable. A smaller, much less consequential bug was that, with the patch installed, the tales of the Argonian lizard people
Wow, my Gonian's got a bit of a dong on their hand. What's going on there?
People in the game would stay static when they turned around, making it appear as though they all had massive phalluses. This was enough to attract the attention of PC Gamer magazine, a mainstream gaming publication, who briefly discussed the controversy and some of the history behind Arthmore's conflict with the modding community.
Boy, digging up some old bones by the sounds of it.
Arthmore took the time to reach out to the author of this article to provide extra insight into Gategate and also address the Red Belly mine changes, though the update to the article included no new information about the Oblivion Remastered patch. Despite his initial hesitance, the changes to the Red Belly mine had become one of his most ardently defended aspects of the patch.
It's just so weird because people complained. People complained that this mine made no sense logically. There's iron on the outside. People are talking about iron. People sell iron. And it's called Red Belly, so it'd be cool if it had red mist, like improperly mined iron. It's probably all the moving of resources that
perhaps due simply to the frequency of its discussion. As the months passed, it became clear that, while this new unofficial patch didn't have nearly the same dominance that its Skyrim counterpart had, it still was able to attract significant attention thanks to its name alone, placing it in the top 20 most popular mods, though well below some others. Still, it doesn't appear to have the same sort of hold on the Oblivion Remastered modding scene as it did on Skyrim. In the meantime, however, the effort to prevent the unofficial patch's dominance in Starfield was beginning to waver. While the community patch had significantly outperformed the unofficial patch, octupling the number to prevent the unofficial it doesn't appear to have the same sort of hold on the Oblivion Remastered modding scene as it did on Skyrim. In the meantime, however, the effort to prevent the unofficial patch's dominance in Starfield was beginning to waver, while the community patch had—
Holy shit! Yeah, those downloads are way higher than Arthmore's.
Significantly outperformed the unofficial patch, octupling the number of unique downloads, it suddenly stopped receiving updates.
There it is. Their team couldn't maintain the updates.
In September of 2024. It wouldn't be until May of the following year that the Starfield community would receive a reason from one of the team members. Quote, "As I am sure some of you have noticed, the Starfield community patch hasn't been updated for quite a while.
Someone couldn't participate as much.
This is due to the core team members generally not having the time or motivation to curate the patch anymore. Other members of the team have found themselves disenchanted with the game for various reasons."
Yeah, it's like the game's shit. Yeah.
Lack of replayability, the paid modding situation,
Does Starfield have a creation club that's you have to pay for? Hold up. Starfield Creation Club. Let's see. You sort by paid? A little dodgy on this end, but your creations? I don't see a price tag on these. Oh, is that the 0? Oh, Arthmore. Oh, he's near the top. The cheat terminal. The Star Wars people need to get on Starfield, because that'll probably be an experience. Maybe
moved on to playing new games, etc. TLDR, we're opening up the floor for anyone who would be interested in taking over as project lead. It's a fair amount of work, but if you're interested, please let me know. If nobody comes forward, we may have to retire the project and direct users to Arthmore's patch going forwards. End quote. As of writing, there has been no
over the
word from the
reins.
leadership of the Starfield community patch, while every active unofficial patch project receives regular updates.
Yeah.
Arthmore continues to lead the team, though he has long ago stopped posting to Reddit. Despite the protests and the controversy, no other bug-fixing mod has been able to break the dominance of the unofficial patch project, and where they have been
hard to compete. Hello, Steve Red. Welcome in.
Welcome, honored guest.
Holy moly, Oddcog. Hello. Hello. Welcome in. Thank you for the raid. Hope you're all doing good. I assume you were both playing the same abiotic factor. I assume. How's the progress on that gone? I've been playing a. I think I was playing but I've been playing a duo with my mate. With my mate. At least for now, we've barely made any progress because we're like rolling for co-op games at the moment. I'm curious to know what the end game does Abiotic have a finish, like an end? Because I don't even know when I stopped. We stopped when it was early access. Kind of hit a wall. But yeah, welcome in. I've been watching some Down the Rabbit Hole on the unofficial Skyrim patch. The video is an hour 30 long, and we've almost made the 4-hour mark for the stream. Incredible. But yeah, thank you for popping in. Yeah, Abiotic's a good one, isn't it? Abiotic cooked. They knew there was a group. There was a large sum of people that enjoy the aesthetic of Half-Life, and they put a twist on it. And that twist is chef's kiss, delicious.
Overshadowed, the effort required has been comparatively immense and has floundered over time. With every other project quashed and the dedication of the team unparalleled, the unofficial patch project continues to project their will.
So this guy's Arthmore. Is it Arthmore? Arthmore. Hold up. I think it was Arthmore. Yeah, Arthmore. So this guy, at least he's like the face of the unofficial Skyrim patch. He's gone through so many controversies relating to now all this other crap. And it is insane. I didn't even know the unofficial unofficial patch made so many changes. Now I need to get back to Unicorn Overload. Unicorn Overload. Why does that sound familiar? Overlord, not Overload. Is that a strategy game? Was that a somewhat recent one that came out as well? Oh, it's 2024. Oh, no, that's been out for a while. What was I thinking? Oh, now I remember. Wasn't there a giant, huge, tall, like, armored lady for one of the ads? Big woman. Strategy game last year, I think. Yeah. Oh, it's got like perhaps turn-based, followed by giant fights, like army war fights. I'm not sure the format of the game, but it looks good. Quality, like visually, it looks nice. I'd take this over Octopath Traveler. RTS. Oh. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah, that makes way more sense. Tired dwarfs need to turn in. All good, odd cog. All good. You have a good one. Enjoy yourself. I was gonna play some Skyrim today, but I didn't realize that you could talk so much when the game's when the video's pause. So, this will probably be the stream.
And vision, despite ever-mounting controversy.
Again, looks good.
And at least for the time being, it appears that this is how it will stay.
You sure about that? Oh. Oh shit, that was the end. Whoa, okay. Damn. That was a good, good lore bit. That was nice. That was nice and comfy. But I guess I'm gonna have to send you off on an ending here. Good video. Credit to them. Big ups. So to pass the raid forward, lads and lasses, I'll send you over to Morphus, because he's playing some Ninja Stories right now, and should be good. But yeah, thanks for the raids, thanks for the follows, thanks for popping in general and lurking about. I'll be back this afternoon to play some awesome Valheim. It's gonna be very chill. We'll see how much we can get done in time, but should be good. You're gaming with the dude? Yeah. Let's go over to him. Let's go.